Feel the rhythm of the streets, neon lights and neon dreams. Bloody face, they feel no pain when there's so much more to gain. Hunting season, if you will, tell me where'd you rather be? I can hardly see the moon, hope we'll get there pretty soon. Trying so hard to release you out of the misery. Hold on to your wishes if you can't hold on to me. Forgive me for letting you down. Forgive me for letting you down again. I guess I'm not strong enough right now. I'm not strong enough right now. Forgive me for letting you down. Forgive me for letting you down again. I guess I'm not strong enough right now. Oh my.
Wake the fuck up, samurai. We have a city to burn.
Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land. This is your T-shirted historian, and welcome to another week in Geek. And at the request of our dear friend L, we actually put a title on this one and actually changed up the card and some other stuff just to kind of give it a little bit of a changeover, an identifiable makeover. Also, thanks to Ironcaster for kicking me in the ass and making me do it. So, thank you, Ironcaster.
You're welcome.
And real quick, I know Dying Breed couldn't be here, but what I've been working on lately is my miniature stuff, and I do it kind of sporadically anyway. But Dying Breed sent me a message the other day. You know, he's like, hey, I got about 300 miniatures for you to paint. And I said, yeah, sure. We'll just add it to the, thousands or so that I already have to paint, because I have many, many, many games with lots of miniatures in them from many different Kickstarters. And I don't have a pile of shame, dude. I have shelves of shame. So I'm just slowly trying to work my way through them, just, one or two miniatures at a time, but I do try to do a good job and then make them look nice. And then Ryan yesterday is telling us how he's going to go play Massive Darkness 2, which is a game I own, and showing off all his, bare plastic miniatures, and I'm just like, So thanks to Ryan, I'm actually working on my Massive Darkness miniatures. As you can see here, this is kind of a work in progress. I got one of the other guys done yesterday. You can check out my Twitter page to see how I did on that. But guys, if you own games and like board games, stuff like that with miniatures in them, and you never touched paint to brush, and you have no intention of it, or maybe you have an intention of it, but you can't do it right away, like me. Do this one simple thing. Go get you 2 rattle cans of primer paint, 1 black and 1 white. It's very simple. Take all your miniatures, put them all on, something that you can spray paint on, and take them outside. Spray paint them all black completely. Make sure you cover up all the plastic parts with black paint. And when that's dry, take a can of white primer, hold it kind of at a 45-degree angle, and just spray kind of from one direction on all your miniatures. Kind of lightly, not like super duper heavy. Intention is not to coat the whole thing. But what it will do is it'll give you effects like this, where you can see the highlights on your miniatures are going to poke out, and you have a nice gradation between black and white. And this is really cool. This is so much nicer than just bare gray or brown plastic. I mean, even if you never go any further than this will still look cooler than black or gray plastic. Okay? Real simple. Okay, my advice from me to you. So anyway, let's start the show, shall we?
Nope.
Come on, Ryan. Don't be that way.
Tell you what, let's go get you a little basic like goblin or some generic mini. Let's do a test paint.
Do I paint my chess pieces or checkers? It depends. It kind of depends. I have painted checkers before. Chess pieces, it really depends. If it's like a chess piece that's shaped like someone or something, and it isn't already painted, like those Civil War chess sets or whatever those little plastic chess sets are, or it's not made out of stone or something. I will paint those. So,
Bully.
Yes, L. Does the paint run off and ruin the board? No. What you do after you finish painting it is you hit it with a coat of protectant, like a sealant, and it puts a little layer of transparent plastic on top of the miniature and makes it safer to handle and makes it a little harder to chip and all that stuff. So you're actually more at risk of chipping a miniature than you are of doing any damage to the board from a painted miniature.
Elle's being my spirit animal today.
Yes, he is.
I mean, you could just be like me and go like buy a bunch of hero clicks and pop those minis off those ginormous bases, and then you can get some cheap, like crudely painted minis.
Mm-hmm. I've done that before too. I used to repaint all my Mage Knight figures because I loved the way the figures looked, but the paint jobs they came with were just terrible because they're factory painted. But yeah, do it. Hi, Steven. Look at all the Scarlet Heroes. Indeed. I think except for Victor, we've all been Scarlet Heroes.
I have too. I've played Scarlet Heroes on the Basic Expert show.
Not with us.
Yeah, but I'm still a Scarlet Hero. I'm just with a different group.
Okay. And yeah, Maliki is also correct. Yeah, you can white prime, do some speed paints, and show off some white dry brush. And yeah, you could do it that way. Thanks to speed paints and contrast paints, and one of the at least 6 or 7 different varieties of contrast style paints or transparent style paints. Yeah, it's easier than ever. I mean, it's like you could get a trained monkey, take a white spray painted miniature and have him throw some contrast paint on it, and it'll at least look sort of okay. So it's easier than ever. Oh, no kidding, Elle. Hasbro gave another Avalon Hill game to Renegade, and they're making pre-painted Robo Rally. That is a game I always wanted to play.
I'd heard something about that. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised to find out they're doing a new edition of House on Haunted Hill.
Huh. Ryan, I know you're big into the board gaming thing. Had you heard about this?
Yeah, Avalon Hill has never been a profitable avenue for Wizards, right? They were before, and then there was a great board game decline in the late 90s, which is kind of when the Avalon Hill's best stuff came out. Wizards took them over. They did a bunch of releases. I have most of them over here to my right. But yeah, good old Robo Rally. Still there are folks that like it. I think it's aged, and it shows its age, but it's still a fun game if you're looking for that competitive thing. They're just unloading everything to Renegade right now because they don't have the capacity to produce it, and Renegade has all of the connections. Avalon Hill under Wizards hasn't produced anything with the exception of Betrayal and the various iterations of Betrayal for a while. So it doesn't surprise me. Renegade's going to take the money because, they have that supply chain in place, and all they have to do is print it. I want to see something new, or I want to see something old that has been forgotten from Avalon Hill, something like Monsters Menace America. We don't want to talk about board games. We'll be here forever.
I was about to say, do like the next version of Catan. Everybody seems to like Catan. Even the man on the street seems to know what Catan is.
Everybody knows what it is. That doesn't make it a good game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the one game beyond like Monopoly that most people will know.
Right.
Outside of like that sort of normie like roll and go kind of thing, it's like people look at a game like Catan or dare forbid something exotic like Ticket to Ride, and they'll
Actually, this is the one that I remember growing up. Axis and Allies being a big thing for the longest time,
which Renegade has.
Yep. Yep. I wouldn't be surprised if Renegade is going to exclusively be the publisher for Avalon Hill, and it's just a kickback and an imprint for Wizards to get a little bit of the money that is inherent in those properties. There are some great Avalon Hill games that are out there. Vegas Showdown is a good transitional short game that can really bump people into what would be considered like the hobby board gaming end of things. And I don't know that we're going to see anything from the Avalon Hill line that is short of an easy moneymaker, which I don't blame them. That's what I would do with it too, but they're certainly not developing.
Yeah, Embracer Group is they're getting really pretty huge. They're losing money, but they're making money. So, curious to see where they're going to end up. Yeah, Avalon Hill game remembers Feudal. I remember Feudal. I don't remember Roadkill. Put the beers on the bottom. Okay, fine. You got all the mustaches on one side.
We got to move people around for the sake of balance.
Why is the beardless one got to be on the bottom?
I don't know.
You're just the bottom today, Vic. Just accept it.
I don't want to be the bottom boy.
You were the thirsty sword lesbian, so.
No, true.
Like a beardless dwarf.
Yes.
Looked down on by society.
Honestly, my thing with board games didn't actually start until I started painting Zombicide several years ago.
I have a lot of unpainted zombies for that too.
I do too, but I've got most of my Black Death finished. There's a few miniatures I still have for Black Death that I haven't finished, but but most of my Black Death is painted, and I really like my Black Death Zombicide a lot.
Considering how much some of these games cost, they should fucking paint the figures for you. I'm not like, don't give me gray plastic. Put some effort in. I'm paying like $100 for this.
I want to buy a copy of Zombies, and it has literally like 100 of these little cheap, like tiny zombies, about like smaller than your most standard mini. But so I have an army of like generic zombies I can always throw out.
And
I
the
do not need another
great.
zombie mini in my life.
Yeah, that's true. That's with Zombicide. It's the same thing. It's like, yeah, after I painted up all my peasant zombies, it was kind of like, okay, I think I'm pretty well stocked for zombies for the rest of my life. T-shirt was looking for power bottoms. Only Jim and Iron met the needs. What?
Yeah, sloppy power bottoms.
Grim, what are you munching on? Is that Cadbury cream egg?
It is a cream egg. I've been saving it for the stream because I want to like taunt the viewers with it.
Because it's one that actually probably tastes good because it's not made with vomit chocolate.
Well, somebody's eating on stream. There goes Max from Legion of Myth.
Why? He doesn't like the people he doesn't know.
He's literally got like some disorder that like makes him just yeah.
I guess it's better than eating Cheetos on stream.
Crunch, crunch, crunch.
I'm curious, folks out there in the audience and on the panel. How many of you guys have actually disallowed any kind of Cheetos or Doritos or any kind of chip that leaves that orangey, flaky shit on people's fingers at your TTRPG game lives, your live games?
We did a segment. That was our whole second segment last, I guess the current week for our show. We talked just about food at the table. I'm very much in the camp of there needs to be two separate tables for food. And there are some foods that are just off limits because, speaking of Vegas Showdown, that's the game in question. Someone 20 years ago when we were playing it had a pizza thumb put a grease thumbprint on that board, and it is there to this day. So I'm already a persnickety bitch, and that sealed the deal for me. There is a separate table. When we redid the lower level of my home, I built a game room and a second dining room just for gaming. So I know it's extreme, but I'm crazy, so I'm all right with it.
No, I had a copy. Well, I still have a copy of Pathfinder First Edition, the miniature books. You know, the small ones with the paper covers and stuff.
The pocket-sized?
Yeah, the pocket-sized ones. Right, and handed them to my friend and he'd never played the game for the first time, so he could build his character. Right. First thing he does is picks it up. He grabs the cover and he folds it over the back.
No.
Yeah, I could feel my blood pressure start to escalate. But I didn't want to say anything because this is my good friend and I've known him since I was a little kid. So I just kind of bit my tongue, took some deep breaths, drank another beer, just watched him continue to, when he was opening the pages, kept folding them over the back of the book, over the spine. Yeah, the reaction on you guys' face. Yeah. Yeah.
We've all been there, though. It's a friend. We don't want to say anything, so we just bottle up that anger and create some sort of mental defect that we'll approach in our 50s and 60s. So.
Yeah, or get ulcers or.
I just had to ban people from burning in their cannabis resin over my book.
I had a book out that I guess was out in the room, and my brother, for whatever reason, took and ripped a corner off the cover of just this paper book I had, and was like, "Why? Why would you do this? There's no reason to do this at all."
I only play online, so I only put my sticky fingers on my keyboard, so I'm fine. The worst that happened to me was I left a book out once when I still had rabbits, and one of them got chewed up by one of my rabbits. That was the worst that happened.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, pets are another thing. Yeah, my pug likes to get into my room, and unfortunately, since I have my books all stacked up, she finds many of my books very chewable. So, now you can't get another copy of it thick ass version of that Troll Lord Games book, Starship Warden. You know, the $80 one. Yeah, it's been chewed on by my pug. It's still readable and everything, but it's like, gosh.
To see if you can get like a squeaky copy of Pugmire to give to her.
I've heard that game's actually fun. Oh wow!
I know the guy who wrote it.
That is rabbit chewing.
Wow.
Luckily, the most pages are still readable. Just kind of like some of the beginning ones, kind of like a little bit of the first letters.
At least it's only Ghost Dog.
Yeah, I mean, I love this game though. It's great.
I love the movie.
Good.
The movie was real good. So you guys don't allow barbecue ribs at the game to get the fuck out of here. No. Although somebody, we were playing a 5th edition game and somebody ordered hot wings. And that's just as bad.
I guess with tabletop role playing, it's easier, right? Because it's their dice, it's their character sheet, it's generally their book. But still, I've got a table that I paid way too much for that has the vault with the mat and the lighting, and that doesn't come near my table.
You can have the ribs, but you have to be napkined up like Boss Hog.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That trash can better be looking like the one in the bathroom in Zoolander, where he's got like 1,000 little cotton swabs just thrown in the trash.
Mm-hmm. I always wondered how that guy got away with eating ribs and all that messy shit wearing a white suit.
Yeah, napkins.
Still.
Lots of them. And extra costumes, I'm sure.
Probably polyester suits as well.
Yeah. What? Okay, explain this one.
I think one of the some former employee of that company came out and said that they sexually assaulted him or something. I don't know. Something. It was like some drama that didn't really pay attention to.
There was some drama, but so few people can afford one of their tables. I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
Ryan is, in fact, a massive fan of Ginny D. That's why he bought the table.
Well, our philosophies are just so aligned. How can I not be a fan of Ginny D? I paid for my table, though. I doubt she did hers.
I do actually own a Wormwood product because one of my GMs bought me a figure holder box that was made by Wormwood, which those things are expensive as hell. So
people used to mock me because I included animated objects as potential sexual encounters in nymphology, blue magic. So to those people, I just want to say, in your face, people can apparently be sexually assaulted by a table. So
yeah, there you go.
I also own a Wormwood product. It's called a bottle of absinthe.
It's a little different, but can you just imagine what kind of damage a back scratcher could do? An animated back scratcher,
especially if it's got that curve.
Yeah.
Butt scratcher, get your butt scratchers here. Butt scratcher.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of that, it's funny. Grim ran the stale water thing for Tabletopless a week ago, and it was funny. Noodle really loved that episode. She loved that game. She said afterwards she was telling me how much she hates Belle Delphine so much. So I am curious to see where what happens with that group when he gets back to it. So
this is the second week we've referenced Belle Delphine in a row.
I know. Isn't it strange?
But for legal purposes, Belle Delphine is an entirely different person.
Yes, that's true.
There's no relation to any person's living, dead, or internet.
Yes.
We're not referencing at all any humble water merchants.
Yes.
Yes.
Humble water merchants.
I wouldn't water my memes with that water.
Imagine what her water would be worth in Dark Sun.
Exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking
still nothing.
That's problematic.
World.
Yeah. She'd be the water queen of the desert.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of Dark Sun, hey, I mean, the Dark Sun controversy continues. I mean, this week I had some interesting Twitter, not fights so much, but just discussions with people who were just all about the whole, Dark Sun being too problematic and blah 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 blah. And this D-bag who apparently was a developer on Fallout 1 and World of Darkness and Star Trek, came out and was talking about how all the chodes come out in defense of Dark Sun because of the rape and the slavery and everything. And I was just kind of like, seriously, dude. Yeah. Seriously, you of all people coming out and saying this.
How do you live with that level of cognitive dissonance?
I know, man. It's just
No. It's fine when I do it.
But when you do it, it's wrong.
I tweeted basically the same things at him, and he never responded. But I told him there's literally female sex slaves in the first bandit camp that you want to cross in Fallout 1. Every setting that he worked on has genocide, slavery. He mentioned the sexual assault, basically. Even Star Trek has that. Everyone remember Tasha Yar?
Yes, yeah. And the sex gangs and everything.
Yeah. So I basically told him glass houses, dude, and never got a response, of course. But
no, of course you didn't. He didn't respond to me either. But I still made fun of him because I came up with the thread that now the modern gamers can live with this. We're no longer going to have bad guys anymore in our games, guys, because we can't have true evil in games. We don't have bad guys. We have mildly annoying guys.
No, we can't. No, we can't call them guys either. That's gendered.
No. Well, this is. I'm just using it as a simplest. I mean, we could call them mildly annoying people, but usually it's guys.
No. Mildly annoying folks. FOLX.
Yeah. There you go. So
and instead of challenge rating, you have inconvenience level.
Yes, inconvenience levels. So here's some of the things I came up with. As if you were a DM, it's like DMs. You come upon 4 men engaged in an act of mild annoyance. The player 1 says, "What are they doing?" DMs, "They're chewing gum and spitting it on the street." Player 2, "They must die."
Reminds me of a game I started working on with my buddy called Neckbeard Quest.
Oh no!
It was going to be a card game. It was going to be a card game where you start out in the mall, and your objective is to win the heart of Stacy. And to do that, you have to defeat Chad. And so you go through the mall and you encounter all these different Neckbeard things, like Mall Ninja Store. You can get you flip over an item card and you get a ninja star, or I still want to flesh that game out. I feel like it would be a hit.
While you were lifting, I studied the blade.
Yep, that'll be one of your ability cards. You'd stumble across a frog meme and it would be like Pepe. There's a million ideas I can put in that game.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is in order to find ammunition for this, I actually went through and found an article that was 50 annoying things that people do, and I just kind of went down the list and started putting them in as encounters. DMs. You sit down in a closely packed seats and notice a mildly annoying guy next to you is taking up both armrests. Players, I pull out my Zweihander and cut one of his arms off so he never has that problem again.
The book or the sword?
Well, either one, I guess.
One does bludgeoning damage.
Yes. Can you imagine him cutting someone's arm off with bludgeoning damage? That's some rage.
That takes dedication.
It does. Here's one. As your party sits in the tavern, the sound of a mildly annoying guy idly tapping his foot can be heard throughout your conversation. Or, DM, you stand in line to wait your turn to see the king when a mildly annoying man appears and cuts in front of you. You catch sight of a mildly annoying guy leaving the restroom, but he has not put the toilet seat up for the next man.
Who does that? I don't put the toilet seat up
I don't want
in a public restroom. Am I supposed to?
Do you pee all over the seat?
Of course.
No, there's a urinal
territory.
for when the hog comes out. It goes to the urinal. When you've got to drop a
Sometimes.
load, you go to the stall.
Sometimes some bathrooms don't though. Some like you go into a public bathroom. Sometimes like in a restaurant or something. Sometimes it's just a little toilet sitting back
That
there.
it's fair game. It's a public bathroom.
Oh, okay. So, how about this one? Your party approaches the store when you see a mildly annoying guy who leaves his shopping cart carelessly in the lot instead of returning it to the stall.
Did he leave the money in? Oh, actually, do you guys do that over there? Do you have to put money in the shopping carts?
It depends. I've seen some where you have to put like a quarter or something in the shopping cart to make it go, or they have shopping carts that have magnetic locks to where like if you push it past a certain point in the parking lot, they'll lock up the brakes on it.
I used to have friends who were like a little bit of a delinquent, and they taught me how to open those up to like make them pop out. So I would just do that. I would just go around and find like people like the shopping carts that people like left behind, or that they put like a lot of people in that area. They would put them on their driveway. They would just take the shopping cart and just put them in the driveway, and I would just steal them and take the euros out or the money out and just go buy candy. I was like 8 or 10. I don't know.
So you were a mildly annoying guy.
Yeah.
Oh, villain.
Part of a guild of mildly
I don't know.
annoying
They're probably more annoying for like literally stealing a shopping cart away from the store.
True.
True. Okay, here's one that's going to get everybody right here. As you shop in a town goods store, you see a mildly annoying guy who keeps picking up items and putting them back down on the wrong shelves.
I'm having this realization that I am a mildly annoying guy.
A lot of people on Twitter would agree.
Follow me. I hate Ryan David.
Okay. How about this one? You go to the grocery store and you see that someone has placed their shopping cart beside the cart corral.
Uh-oh.
Having not put it back
Oh, I did that one now.
when they were immediately next to it.
Oh, well, that's even, yeah. Or how about this? You attempt to pay for your goods in the 10 items or less line. However, the mildly annoying guy in front of you has callously brought 11 items. No, not bad enough. Yeah, I work retail. It pisses me off to see. He knows. Yeah, don't pee on the seat. That's what the floor is for. Yeah, that's.
And the walls.
11 items is not bad. 3 carts is bad. Yeah, I've seen people do that too.
And there are stores that the instructions to the cashiers are you can't tell them to go elsewhere. When I was a young lad working at Kmart,
Oh no.
we were allowed to tell them to get the hell out, get out of my line.
Get out,
yeah.
trolley fascist.
Els is not me. That's too tame. I'd be in the book of assholes. The guy at the store who puts the pint on ice cream on the produce shelf when I change mine. Well, it's the same thing. By the way, Aaron the Relentless is good to see you, man. You know what? Aaron the Relentless is pretty awesome because it's like for years I would get on, Paizo's board or whoever's board, and I'd be posting up stuff like that or asking questions or whatever. It's like Aaron is like usually the first guy to answer them. So that dude's sharp. Which, Poncho Goblin, you can't watch as you're having dinner with the family. Oh, darn. Okay. But,
Well, you could.
yeah, you could. I mean, just let the whole family enjoy us.
Yeah, or just ignore them.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be a tabletop gamer. What family?
But yeah, it's like, I don't know what modern gamers expect us to do. I mean, I guess that's why solar punk is a thing now, an actual genre.
Yeah.
Or punk.
Who?
Or punk. You just say this pencil is a whole punk genre, subtype.
Is that what really happens now?
Well, I mean,
Just
everything
to
is
any old
punk.
shit.
Actually, I was about to say, I thought
cog punk, steampunk.
I thought punk these days is like, people who actually want to conform to government regulations and rules.
Yeah, pretty much.
That does seem to be where they all went.
Kind of, yeah. It's like, hey, guess what, guys? You used to be against the man. Now you became the man. Oh, you showed up when you saw Grim, Jim, and Victor in the thumbnail? Well, that's why I keep inviting them, because, I know that they're bait.
Yeah.
He doesn't let them leave.
I don't let them leave.
Gotta have some handsome Europeans on to class up the joint.
That's right, man.
That's right. When he does, we'll be given the boot.
Yeah. That is true. Yeah, he's just stuck with us for now.
Yes, Ironcaster. I was getting to that. Yes. All right. So, our show topic today was, like the media that shaped us, and what brought this on kind of was it was Ironcaster talking about what is it, the new Pirates of Darkwater that's coming out?
No, I was talking about the confines of, I had just picked up the Pirates of Darkwater on like Vudu, and it was a cartoon I used to watch as a kid. I was like, oh, I love this. This is all kinds of like gonzo nonsense that would work well for like an RPG. You watch it, there's a lot there that you can kind of draw from. I mean, hey,
who hasn't stolen from Thundar the Barbarian yet?
Well, apparently, like the claim going around back then was that Thundar the Barbarian stole from, what was it, Gamma World?
Yeah, that was the case. Yeah, James Ward hates Thundar because he thinks that they stole a bunch of shit from him, which is funny because people who worked on Thundar, if you notice who some of the guys were, it was like Jack Kirby himself, and a lot of that stuff was pulled from Kamandi, the Last Boy, which was already post-apocalyptic.
Yeah,
and also Jack Kirby.
Didn't I say Jack Kirby?
Well, yeah, but it was just further Jack Kirby stuff.
It kind of feels like a case of Vampire the Masquerade going after Underworld. Like, it's like, oh, vampires in tight leather? Like, that's our thing. Like, oh, okay.
But wait a minute, though. He did successfully sue them for an undisclosed amount of money. There was a settlement.
I still think the comparison is very surface level, but apparently some boomer judge disagreed. So what do I know?
Well, Marvel.
It was a settlement, right? So it was cheaper just to make a deal than to fight it out.
And Marvel, we know, they when they did the first Blade movie, they definitely stole from Vampire the Masquerade. So I would not be surprised if there was something there too. But.
Man, I'm gonna find somebody to sue.
Yeah, and Vampire the Masquerade stole from Anne Weiss. So what the hell are we talking about? Everyone steals from everyone. That's like the mark of a good creative mind.
I gotta say that I'm surprised you can get Pirates of Darkwater, because there's a flying monkey that likes watermelon in it, and Wizards has got in trouble for less.
True.
Well, it's I don't know. It's like a parrot monkey. Maybe that somehow skates by. I don't know.
Pirates are my least favorite genre. Oh, what was that? Sorry.
I was going to say, there were other great cartoons like that. Obviously, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe is an easy one. Herculoids, another one, definitely. I love Thundercats, of course, and Thundar, and Inhumanoids was a good one.
He-Man was a little bit before my time. I had some of the toys. I'm a 40-year-old guy, so I'm like, T-shirt a historian could be my dad.
Yeah.
He-Man was... I had some of the toys. In fact, I might have even had Castle Grayskull. But that's just not... I didn't really grow up with that. I was into real Ghostbusters, Ninja Turtles, Thundercats, the mid-'80s, late 80s stuff.
Wait, Ryan, where's your Castle Grayskull? I don't see it back there.
I moved... Actually, the little dude moved it around. He was playing with it. So I can go get it.
I did like G.I. Joe. Okay. I had a lot of G.I. Joe as well.
I had a lot of G.I. Joe. And
I grew up on He-Man, and I'm like slightly younger than you, so I don't know. But maybe I'm European, so we were a couple of years behind. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like probably. So my sister's husband is from Australia, and they just now get like things that have been popular in the U.S. like for 15 years. Like he's like talking about like how awesome it is. It's like, dude, like where have you been? This is from 2000.
They've been inside.
Grim, what did you used to watch?
Sorry, the gap's kind of closed a bit now. We get stuff within a year, generally. What did I used to watch? Cities of Gold, waiting desperately for something to happen.
That's awesome.
I love the theme song though.
Yeah.
I didn't much like the show because it took so long for
Yeah.
anything to happen. And they have that fucking golden condor in the credits, the opening credits, and you don't freaking see it until you've lived through like 300 episodes.
The credits make it seem like the most high adventure you can experience, and then you watch it and it's like,
Yeah, like 200 episodes are just like straight up historical. It's like nothing interesting or like weird happens.
Yeah. I used to hate watch Dog Tanyan.
okay, yeah.
El, we're going to get to that.
And the Musker Hounds.
Yeah. All the
Brave Star.
Marionation stuff I used to watch.
Yeah, Brave Star was good. I liked Cops. I have all the whole cartoon thing of Cops.
Fighting crime in a future time.
Fighting crime in the future time. And you know what the sad thing is I would love to show off the intros for all this stuff, but I will get copyright claimed in a heartbeat. And yes, Iran the Relentless. Yeah, I never did get to see Darkwater. Visionaries was not on long enough to show in my area, so I had to go onto eBay and get my copies that way.
Legally purchase.
Yes, well, the videos were legally purchased. Where they came from, as far as original owners, I don't know. Not my problem. Malaki, I never got to watch Mask. And
That's a shame. I loved Mask.
I didn't get to watch Dino Riders or JC and the Wheeled Warriors. I wanted to watch Air Raiders.
I recently saw the intro again for Silverhawks. I think that was
that was a good show. Yeah. I did get to catch that, and I have got the episodes since then. That was a pretty neat one. Good idea, anyway. The show was kind of poorly executed, but the animation was great.
I was looking for there's another like kind of European cartoon that Discotech just released, and I can't remember. Treasure Island, 1978 animated series. It's like one of those weird like animes that's like also French for some reason.
They did a lot of anime that was based on like classic books back in the day.
And folk stories, yeah. Like Niels Holgersson, you had Heidi, you had
Hans Christian Andersen.
Yeah, Sans Familie, Alone in the World or whatever it's called, with Remy. Yeah, like you had all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, most of these cartoons and stuff were designed to sell toys because, of course, being young kids, we were, susceptible to that. And we bought the toys and we played with the toys. But I mean, the cartoons were cool too. But there were cartoons where they didn't have toys, like Orbots. Mighty Orbots was one of my favorites. And I don't remember them having a toy, or when they did come out with a toy, it was too late. There was Kid Video, but it's not really a toy show.
I watch a lot of Secret Galaxy, which used to be called Toy Galaxy. I love that guy. But
I like Toy Galaxy.
He covered a show recently that didn't have any toys, and I was like, really?
Yeah. Well, maybe he's running out of ideas.
Bad Dragons. Oh wait, no, that's.
Wait a minute. It's something else now.
That does sound like an old 80s cartoon, though. The Bad Dragons, and you're like, oh wait, no.
Oh my gosh, hell. Those are the old ones.
Oh yeah.
Catch that pigeon.
Catch that
Hong
pigeon.
Kong Fooey.
I loved Hong Kong Fooey.
I hated Hong Kong Fooey.
Hong Kong Fooey, number one super guy.
Most Hanna-Barbera stuff is intolerable for me.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree, Greg. Anything Hanna-Barbera, I watched it, right? But it's because we had to watch it because we had 4 channels. So
the only Hanna-Barbera I like was
all the beards on one side again.
SWAT Cats was cool.
Yeah, Hanna-Barbera just reminds me of like being poor and sad.
SWAT Cats made a lot of girls furries. Okay, let's be fair here.
Oh no, the Animal Olympics. That's a furry thing.
I know for a fact I know a woman in real life who she became a furry chubby chaser due to SWAT Cats.
Damn.
Chibi chaser.
Space Jam. It was Space Jam for me.
Lola Bunny.
Yeah. That was a very awkward situation sitting there. Like, why do I like a rabbit girl? Like,
It is weird
about,
how in
now?
modern times they stole Lola Bunny's tits.
Yeah.
What about
I was going to say, she has a mastectomy somewhere between then and now.
Yeah.
and then there was
I
oh
always got
gosh,
Final Fantasy 12.
there was a ton of them. Man, I can't even remember which ones. Oh, like Bionic 6 was another one I caught, but it was a little bit later. Galaxy Rangers was another one.
Yeah.
Centurions, Power Extreme. I never did get to watch Exo Squad, so I missed that one. And I missed Zoids.
There are a couple of really bigger titles I feel like we're sort of sidestepping. And
Which ones?
maybe this is just me because I think I am probably the youngest one here. I'm 33.
Uh-huh. So
Stuff like the more mainstream stuff, The Simpsons. I mean,
no.
That's not classic. That's still ongoing.
Yeah.
There's like no nostalgia when you can just watch it now.
You don't wake up on Saturday morning to watch The Simpsons.
Yeah, the thing with The Simpsons is it was like even then it was prime time and it was considered, taboo and offensive when it first came on. You didn't want to. Bart Simpson was this counterculture icon for us in middle school. That
Don't have a cow, man.
My mother was like, I can't believe you want to watch that show. That show is terrible. And then there's my dad that just backs your mother's right,
And don't start with South Park either. That's a problem.
And the elder Bush came out against the Simpsons, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah, we don't want people to be like the Simpsons.
Which then got Homer and H.W. Bush beating the snot out of each other.
My school had a dress code ordinance because the Eat My Shorts and Don't Have a Cow Man, Bart Simpson t-shirts when the Simpsons first hit were super pop. We weren't allowed to wear them because they were, right in line with the Big Dick t-shirts.
Oh, wow.
And anyone
Big
remember
Johnson.
that? Speaking of t-shirts, anyone remember that era in the 90s where Looney Tunes was big and they had all these t-shirts where it's the Looney Tunes is the Blues Brothers or as Jules and Vincent from Pulp Fiction and stuff like that. Those were hugely popular for a couple of years.
Over here in South Georgia, they still wear those, but the Looney Tunes are gangster for some reason, or really ghetto. It's ghetto Tweety Bird and ghetto Taz and
WB got to make their money somehow.
There was a push of trying to use the popularity from the 90s of the Looney Tunes to push stamp collecting.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, it was for some reason I think I got the little free magazine they gave out. So it was every couple months I just got this magazine about oh yeah, look at all these neat little odd cartoons they would put in or comics they would put in of Looney Tunes. And then oh, by the way, go to your local post office, kids, to buy stamps.
Over here was
we'll never use
the little plastic things. What do you guys call them? Poggers, I think.
Pogs.
Okay, we called them flippos over here. And you could get them in lace chip bags, and they were all Looney Tunes themed. And that was hugely popular here for a couple of years too. People had the binders with all the flippos as we called them in them and stuff like that. And we would play the game at school.
The one that we wanted had the 8-ball on it. We always dude, you got the 8-ball.
Ours were all Looney Tunes, and if you didn't have the Looney Tunes ones, if you had the knockoff ones that just had random art, you were just the poor kid, you were the loser that everyone bullied. It's you can't afford chips.
Alf bugs.
Now here's an interesting thing. I was on Brandon the Anime Guys show the other night, and we were talking about 90s anime. And one of the guys who was on there with us was in the military at the time, or before all that, back in the 90s. And he said that's how they got introduced to cartoons and anime and all that, was because someone else in the barracks, would be like, hey man, you guys want to watch some cartoons? And they were like, oh, what do you got? And so they just bring out all these anime like Fist of the North Star and all that stuff and start watching all that. So
see, anime is like a contact STD. Once you hey, you want to watch some anime, and they call you it's infecting me. It's all Daijoubu now.
Oh, tell me you don't watch anime, Guard, bro.
Oh, I know I do, but I got infected the exact same way. Man, I'm bored. The guy's like, we're on staff duty. Want to watch some anime? Yeah, fuck it. What you got? It's called Girl Zoom Panzer. Fuck it, just put it on, bro. I'm like, this is pretty rad, you know.
Yes.
The girls
'Cause,
are the tanks. That's all.
Because no, not the girls on the tanks. The girls are inside the tank.
Oh yeah,
operating
that's girls in
tanks.
Panzer. Okay.
Yeah, it's not girls in Panzer. Girls un Panzers is different.
Girls und
There is
Panzer.
one where the girls are the airplanes, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Battleships.
I have that one. I have that one. I did not like it.
It's a whole
Strike witches.
subgenre.
Strike witches.
Yeah.
Strike Witches, yeah. Strike
I was
Witches.
gonna say this earlier about anime. Did you guys have those animes that were like basically like anime knockoffs of like the Disney stuff? So you had like an anime like Pinocchio, you had like an anime Peter Pan by Saibon or whatever that company was.
Yeah.
I actually like preferred those over the Disney ones. They were cool. They had like really neat art styles and stuff. They were kind of
They
like
were good.
so and weird. Yeah.
See, it's funny
Yeah,
because when I was younger, I liked anime, and I grew out of it. I was like, anime's for kids. I gotta watch grown-up cartoons like The Simpsons or fucking Family Guy. And I got back into. I realized, man, I got like swapped back into it. What's funny was I would go and infect other troopers because I'd be in the fucking armory cleaning 50 cals. And I gotta watch something or I'd be bored. So I'm watching like either Cowboy Bebop or like Outlaw Star or fucking Girls in Pants or Monster Musume. Well, in the armory cleaning 50 cals. What are you doing? Watching anime. Well, what is it? It's about monster girls. Oh, that's cool. He sits next to me, pulls an M9 cleaning it. So she's half snake, huh? Yeah, half snake. What else is there? Oh, it's a mermaid girl in the background. Oh, and the guy comes in. What are y'all doing? Watching monster girls? Oh, okay.
All about that snussy.
Pull out a gun. It's about like about half an hour. Like 13 dudes. Like, oh no, the Harpy girl's kind of cute, but she's kind of sus. Yeah, it was like a whole platoon sitting there cleaning weapons. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Yeah,
I'm confused. Was cleaning the 50 cal a euphemism or not?
no, it's not. I will say, Grim, I was not prepared for topless tabletop. I was not prepared mentally for that, man. I'm sitting there like, okay, that's rad, boobies. I get up and get a drink, come back, and everyone's got paddles out and are spanking each other. Like, what the fuck? I left for 10 seconds. What happened?
I glanced at it briefly when I was linked, and it was just like one of the girls having a mouth open with some stuff on her tongue, which looked very suspicious. I'm like, oh, that's interesting, and then I had to go. So
it's like a theater dream, like you blink and like, oh, that in ball games. What happened? What pass out? What happened? You know?
What games master hasn't wanted to spank their players at some point for fucking about?
I mean, let's be totally honest. If we had our choice, we would not be gaming with a bunch of dudes. It'd be with a bunch of hot young chicks who, like to dress scantily and take their clothes off at the table.
No, because they don't make good characters. I want to game with nerds who make
You
cool
say
characters.
that, but like, I'm dead on the inside. I'm like, just please get. Your
I
turn done
disagree.
faster. For God's sakes, Megan, like just do your turn faster. It's taking 4 hours, Megan.
I want to have cool gunfights and stuff. I don't want hugs and nice things.
Okay.
So we were talking about like the media that's shaped us, right? And we obviously have a lot of common ground in that there's a lot of transatlantic series that were shown all over the place. I went looking to try and think of uniquely British media that I could try and explain to you in some way, but most of it is for younger kids, right? So
These
when
days.
even back then, because it was cheaper to produce for younger kids because their expectations aren't so high. So there's not a lot of stuff for older kids that I can reference, but I think there's something uniquely British in how we set out to kind of traumatize our kids with horrifying children's programs and weird animation and a lot of stop motion, because that was cheap to do, but it can't help but look creepy.
Yeah, that is true.
The Adventures of God.
Billy and Mandy.
No. What's that stop motion one that's really weird? It's got Satan.
Waltz and Slayton. No,
That was Canadian, wasn't it?
Was it Canadian or was it?
They get some of our weirdness.
If it's Satan, it's definitely Canadian.
I remember the.
It's a
T-shirt. There was this show, live action kids show called Teabag, right? which was about a witch, and she had an assistant called T-shirt. So I'm wondering if that's you.
No,
was it Davy and Goliath, Greg?
No, it was all stop motion.
Yeah, Davy and Goliath was stop motion.
The Adventures of Mark Twain. That's what it was.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That's a real
with the weird mask Satan.
Yeah, that was bizarre.
I remember the weirdest thing. When I watched one of those, I want to say it was a Gary Anderson or Jerry Anderson
Yeah.
puppet show is like the Mysterons or something like that, and you see a
Yes,
puppet
Captain Scarlet.
you see a puppet who's actually like sweating, and it's the weirdest thing because it's kind of like that's just not right. I mean, it's like these things can't really sweat, and they're supposed to be looking disheveled and sweaty, and I'm just kind of like that's no.
Captain Scarlet was like the apex of the super marionation thing. The proportions were more like real people than something like Thunderbirds.
We had a stop motion show that was really funny. It was called Buurman and Buurman, which translates to neighbor and neighbor. And it was like two neighbors, and they both like wore little knit caps, and they would do like home improvement stuff, and it would always go like completely wrong. It was like kind of like slapsticky like stuff, but it was like really funny.
Like talking about weird, obscure shit that like actually like shaped me for a while. When I was a little kid, I was probably like 5. There was a very obscure Australian series of like cartoons that was like Dot and the Whale, Dot and the Kangaroo. I don't know if you guys have heard of this.
Mm-mm.
Probably not. That's how obscure they are, but they're huge in Australia. And the one with the whale, like, for some reason left an indelible impression on me. And for many years, I wanted to be a marine biologist like George from Seinfeld. And I never did.
There is a cartoon that I wish I had paid more attention to and watched, but I think it came on at odds with another show that I was more interested in, and that's Black Star, because that show looks cool as hell, man. But I never did get to really sit down and watch it. I would catch like little bits and pieces of it here and there, especially if whatever episode of whatever cartoon I was watching at the time was something I had already seen. But that show I heard was really good, and I should probably try to find some old episodes of that thing, because I mean it had lion men and all kinds of cool stuff, and I'm just kind of like, that seems like that. I wonder why nobody has done like any kind of fantasy role playing based around that. It seems like it'd be an easy one. I mean, you build modern age characters who crash land on a kind of like a backwards mystical sort of planet. So
Strange land, pretty much.
Yeah. Did any of you guys watch anything at a young age that actually genuinely disturbed you and gave you nightmares for many years?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yes.
A lot of weird fetishes. Yeah, it's bad.
Well, of course, that too. One of my big ones was the 80s Twilight Zone, and there's like an episode where some woman is being like haunted by like faces that come out of the walls and like push through the wallpaper and stuff, and that terrified me. And I was like afraid of walls for like a year. I would just be sitting on the couch like paranoid of the wall behind me. So yeah.
I briefly freaked out after watching way too many zombie movies, including Fulci Zombie, because I started, every time I'd go out at night, I'd start looking around to make sure there was nothing creeping up on my ass.
I had 2 things that distinctly got me. One was a terrible movie. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, The Gate.
The Gate is that one got me too.
The construction worker in the wall specifically was what fucked me up with The Gate, and the other one was also an 80s Twilight Zone episode where a young boy was at his dying grandmother's bed, and she was a witch, and something evil happened. I don't remember it. I've never revisited it. Maybe I should, but I remember being, she just kept saying hug, and she wanted a hug, and that was
what was that on? I remember it was just called Grandma, the episode, I think.
I don't remember what episode it was. I think it was the Twilight Zone remake. It might have been one of the other spin-off shows. But I remember the grandmother was a witch, and he found like some grimoire in the floor, and the distinct thing that I remember was hug, and that one got me.
Well, the scene in The Gate that got me was when the eyeball appears in his hand and like he stabs it. That fucked me up.
Yeah,
see, I found them more fascinating from like a viewer standpoint. My creepy times come from being an actual like hiking alone for some fucking reason, probably from like a cougar stalking me or some shit like that. But like all my creepy things were me being out in the woods hiking alone like a retard. Like I'm fine, I'll do it myself. I don't need a rifle or a gun.
I feel like we should specify you're talking about an actual cat, not a single lonely.
I think the actual like a sexual cougar is more terrifying than an actual feline cougar at this point.
Well, I mean, one of them can fuck you up instantly. The other one can fuck you up over time.
Emotionally, leave you behind. Like I thought we were the one. Nah, I'm just using you, bro. But like I've done a lot of solo hikes, and I've done it because I want to see could I do it. So I would go on solo hikes at night because I'm an idiot. Because I'm like, oh, this is a fine idea. And I'd be hiking in the woods at night with a headlamp, or usually moonlight. I always hike during full moons, so I guess to see shit. And the woods get immensely creepy. You can't fucking see anything, and it kind of preys off my fear of the ocean. Like if I'm in a river, I'm fine. I can see my feet. If I can't see my feet, or I can't see the floor of the water, I'm like, okay, this is not good. Because I'm not born with flippers or webbed feet like Finnish people. I can't do it. I gotta get out of the fucking water. But like at night, say I'm going out to like the trash can. It's like, no moon outside, dark as shit. Like I don't need a flashlight. I'd be walking there. I get those weird prickly crawlies. Like, remember that time in the woods where that thing was stalking you and you couldn't see it? Yeah. It kind of comes back to me. But is that really from like I find like horror movies fascinating from the concept. Like Event Horizon is one of my favorite horror movies for a long time.
Oh God, yeah.
Because it's like basically 40K. Like let's go in the warp, see what happens, And now like, oh, now you have turtle demons on your ship. I find that very fascinating. But I never really got scared or like spooked from like I said weird fetishes, but I really spooked from like horror movies or weird creepy movies in my youth.
I just remembered one that got me. Also good.
There were two particular things I had like that stand out in my mind to this day. I remember watching as a kid. That was first and foremost just the opening to Tales from the Crypt, like going through the.
That was awesome.
That was cool.
It was like that always scared me as a kid. It's just because like you're just in these tight corridors going down this. The other thing was watching the 1989 movie The Blob.
Oh, that was a good movie, but yeah, that was pretty messed up. But it's a good one. That's one of my favorites.
One that bothered me for years was there was an old episode of the X-Files about like a freak show type thing, and the villain is like this disformed like a conjoined twin who actually can detach himself from his big brother, and he's like this creepy like torso with spindly arms. And at one point, this team, well, it's just like an X-Files episode. I don't know what it was called, but there was like one episode or one scene where he grabs a woman through like the door, like grabs her by the leg and like pulls her through it. And I lived in this really old house, and the bathroom was downstairs. So every time I had to go to the bathroom, I had to like go downstairs, go down this long hallway, and the bathroom door was right next to the back door, which also had the dog door in it. So I had to like pass that shit by like half a foot to go to the, and I would feel like the cold air, like on my ankles. And I would see like the darkness through it, and so I would always be paranoid that like something would grab me through it as I was walking past.
He has a point. Cold air does freak me out from ghost hunting. I think I had a ghost for like maybe 3 or 4 years, and cold air where there should be cold air does freak me out. I know there's a lot of skeptics out there like ghosts are bullshit. I get that, but unless you have one actually like touch your fucking neck and you go what the, then you realize that there's some odd things in life. But cold air, Victor, is one. You're correct. Cold air where there shouldn't be cold air. I don't know what's about cold air, but like when you feel like it is 85 degrees outside, why is it chilly? I don't like your brain goes. This is not correct. There's something wrong here, dude.
Yeah, I would feel the cold air would be like dark. I would hear like the wind kind of like rushing outside. Like, yeah, it's like the middle of the night, and I have to like go to like this creepy dark bathroom in like a house that's like 400 years old. Like, yeah, it wasn't fun.
I got a miniature little piece to show before I segue into something that's kind of different, but I was curious to talk about. But I figured Jim especially would enjoy this one. So. Jim, yes. So here you go, Grim.
395. The moment the crew of the Millennium Enterprise have dreaded is upon them. Their most feared enemy, the Klingons, have begun an invasion of the Federation, and this time there may be no stopping them.
All right, boys, listen up. Word is it's kicking off big time. We're going to have a tear up with the Klingons.
Klingons? They're naughty. They are proper naughty, Jim.
Yeah, I know they're proper naughty, moody geezers, but don't worry, right? I've sent Bones down there, early bells, having a bit of a nose around. He's keeping his minces peeled in case it comes on top. Bones, you there, son?
Yeah, I'm here, Jim. Here, how's the family?
Yeah, sweet as a nut as it goes, son. What's the script?
To be fair, ain't a lot happening as it goes.
What, no Klingons?
No. No Klingons? You're having a Turkish, son? No, mate.
You ain't mugging us off here, are you, Bones?
No. Straight up. I ain't popped a single Klingon boat.
I ain't poked one.
I don't believe this. I don't believe this. This is your liberty. This is your liberty. They mugged us off, ain't they? We've been mugged off by the Klingons.
Mugs. They've mugged us right off. You going to have that, Jim?
What do you think? Do you think I'm going to have that? Do you think I'm going to have that off them mugs?
I swear to
Bones,
God,
get
they're
yourself
speaking
back
English.
up here, son. I tell you what. This is going to get proper naughty.
It's like Guy Ritchie's Star Trek.
Yes.
Sad thing is that I actually understood a lot of that, probably because I grew up on the BBC and stuff. So yeah,
I kind of understood most of it, but I'm sorry. I love that.
That was honestly it almost gave me like a brain aneurysm. I was like, that's the same words. I know these words. I don't like. That's just like he said like a whole system. Like yes, he said the somewhere. I swear to God, it's
and they shat
Once
on
you
the
get the
turtle.
knack of rhyming slang, it does make
Yeah.
sense, right? So you're having a
I'd like to-
Turkish bath laugh, right? So you're having a laugh. You're joking on me.
I'd like
I
to
don't
drop
Adam and
Bird
Eve.
Bro in on a chav neighborhood and let him stay there for a week. See how he came out.
what are they fucking say? Come like scratching like cuts. What are they saying? I don't understand. Chav neighborhood is what he said.
Oh, Theron needs to be a legit series. Yeah, no kidding. Phonetically.
I just
did
need
have
to do
something.
a TV show that has nothing but characters with thick accents. We'll just
yeah.
put Victor on there.
Yeah,
That's
they could
not-
have like
my
a
accent
Welshman
isn't
on there
fake.
one day, and nobody would understand them.
And
Accent is
a
real.
Glaswegian.
None of the
and a
sheep are
Cockney.
safe.
Yeah.
I mean, I can do a fake Dutch accent, but my actual one is real.
No, Grim was doing an Afrikaan accent this week. South
That is pretty
African.
much as bastardized as Dutch. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Just spicy Dutch, yeah. So,
Spicy
Yeah.
Dutch.
It's a racist Dutch.
Yeah.
apartheid Dutch. Anyway,
Anyway,
that side.
so we had a lot of other stuff to talk about, but something popped up kind of on my radar yesterday, and I never really got to thinking about it until it was mentioned, and so I was kind of curious what the panel was thinking about this, but it has been debated endlessly, the legitimacy of firearms in 5e or all the other D&D games. And of course, my first usual point is like, guys, Dave Arneson had spaceships and shit in his, so technology existing in D&D is legit.
Who was saying that it wasn't legit?
Well, this guy was arguing with me that firearms do not belong in D&D because it destroys the sense of
Hold on.
believability. And I said, do you realize the entire setting destroys the sense of believability, right? Because
T-shirt. So that
What?
they bring out a combat wheelchair. No one blinks a fucking eye. Bring out a gun. They lose their fucking minds.
yeah. Well, I mean, okay. So here's the thing. Okay, and this is what I pointed out. I said, you realize that back in the Roman Empire, we actually had the Archimedes screw, which was a device used to lift water out of out of wells and stuff like that. But it was never implemented. It was never taken on because one of the emperors killed the design because he basically wanted to keep people employed. But we had other inventions. In the Almohad Empire, they had batteries made with fruit juice.
Baghdad battery.
Yeah, Baghdad batteries for electroplating. They had the Chinese have had gunpowder since the 11th century, since the Song Dynasty.
They launched rockets. They launched arrow rockets with it. Yeah.
But that's not the
Romans
point.
nearly had steam engines.
Yeah, but why even? What's the point of even arguing when like the Forgotten Realms in 5th edition is so ridiculously, stupidly over the top kitchen sink? You've got
Exactly.
war-forged robots, skeleton heads, like weird lizard. Like it's fucking
Weird.
It's not medieval
Well,
fantasy. It's
Well-
it's not like a historical thing at all.
Yeah, and
You don't want to say anything goes though, because that's the Butma Dragons argument.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is what my point was. I said, you guys, you realize how stupid the fucking D&D world is to begin with, right? Is that they have all this magic, and in our own race, the human race, managed to figure all this shit out, within a few centuries. And yet, you have multiple races in the D&D setting that are older than humanity, and they never got it into their head to try this either.
Dwarves
like
never figured
Dwarf.
it out.
Yeah, Dwarf never figured out how to build a goddamn gunpowder shooting weapon. I mean, seriously?
Especially since they didn't used to be good at magic, so they'd want to compensate.
Yeah. And his thing was wizards would try to stop this as soon as they can. I said, yeah, that's the bullshit excuse that the Forgotten Realms uses all the time, is that the Harpers shut all this shit down.
They put all this Renaissance like flavor in D&D, especially in the Forgotten Realms. And meanwhile, guns are taboo. Guns were around before the rapier was. So why are rapiers a thing?
Yeah, not only that, but he was trying to make the argument. He said, well, yeah, but once firearms came out, it changed the battlefield so much that plate armor became useless. And we were like, no, sir, plate armor became more useful when the guns came out because the plate armor was the only thing that could stop it.
T-shirt only really got phased out after World War One. So
there are books and books and books. When the winged hussars charged the Ottomans had cannons, for God's sake.
Yeah,
do people not read history?
Yeah, Suleiman was blowing down the fucking gates of Vienna with cannons. I mean, and they were still using swords and shit then too.
Why does no one read? We have these little things right here. These computers we can hold in our hand and read all the world's designs and history, all in the palm of our little measly hands. But no one wants to use them to look at titties and fucking cat pictures.
But yeah, it's also full of titties and
yes,
Candy Crush.
So what you're saying is we got to wrap history lessons in titty, and everyone will learn.
Yeah.
Not table topless, but history topless. You're on.
I only learned my history from Sabaton.
They do drunk history on one of the channels here.
Mm-hmm.
They just get a historian shit-faced and have me try to explain something complicated. So Napoleon, right, is a proper geezer.
There's also the other people who do accept guns in D&D, but then like they insist that guns should be doing like 600d 1200 damage. Well, a battle axe to the face, like that's fine if it's just 2d6. But a hand pistol, like that should do like 1,000 times 6 million.
Well, I mean, okay, the biggest difference is the size of the projectile hitting you at the speed that it is, because it's like, even though it's a little bitty 9mm bullet, it's still imparting a lot of transfer of force when it hits you, and that's part of the shock of what kills you. Not just the little bullet penetrating into you and shit.
Did they post the old modern firearms in D&D rules?
I don't know.
A while ago.
You see, the main factor of bodily destruction is the shock of the round hitting the body and making blood go. Brr, 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 brr. The second thing is a mass, and so basically, people back before on all bullets are deadly, okay, but some are deadlier than others. It's all about mass. So people don't realize the grain of a bullet. The grain is a grain, like the weight of the actual projectile. It's not the grains of powder. It's how heavy that lead bullet is. And it's why, like, I would prefer to get shot by a 9mm than a fucking round ball, because the round ball is going so fucking slow it just breaks apart your body. Yeah, and there's this horrible. I don't know how science can get so misconstrued. Like Biden actually said, "Oh yeah, the 9mm will bisect a person in half, or a 5.56 will blow apart a fucking shoulder." It goes zoom, like a 5.56 is going so fast, it goes through you and it keeps on fucking chugging. Like that thing is through you. And in D&D, they're mostly firing round ball, mini ball, perhaps down with muzzle loaders. I know there are few like, I just put it in a cylinder. That's fine. There were brass cartridges being used with the round balls for a while as like a test kind of thing. But more or less, the way you want to do it is the damage is kind of a way to kind of interpret where the bullet hits. So say this gun does 5d6 and you roll low. You interpret that as a bullet going zoom and skipping off your shoulder. Fuck. It's not a big hit. If it does like maximum damage hitting you, probably center mass and blowing your fucking heart out of your chest. It's all about interpreting the damage in tabletop games. Me and Victor know this. We probably had to crunch through this shit. How do you interpret a 5.5 fix slamming through someone's body? Well, it depends on where it hits. If I get hit here with a 5.56, it's going to blow a chunk of my fucking shoulder plate off, and it's not going to kill me. If I get hit center mass, it's going to disrupt my heart. I'm going to fall down dead. It's why most people shoot center mass. You're aiming for the spine. Most folks don't really understand when you get shoot center mass, you're trying to hit a T here in the chest for the heart, the lungs, or the spine. If a bullet skips off your fucking spinal cord, you flop. And it's going to sound really mean and kind of just because if you want to see what bullets do to people, you watch the Ukraine war footage. People run along, and just fall. Like, why did this fall over? Well, a bullet probably skipped up their fucking spine and severed that bitch. It just happens. Bullets are really ambiguous when they hit you. So you can hit the stomach. Oh my God, my spleen. The guy goes, okay, stop bleeding. Throw stuff on there, a little powderized, a little gauze. You're good to go. You get hit anywhere in a vital T area, you're toast. Like a pneumothorax is where your lung gets hit, and now you're filling full of air, and your lungs collapsing. How do you fix that? You plug the hole, put a needle in, and let the air out. There's a lot of weird stuff with bullets that people just can't, especially people on Twitter for that matter, can't really understand. Like people think, oh, it's a deer hunting rifle, burp, 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 but a military rifle is like super dangerous. I wish I had some bullets on me actually to show you guys.
A 30-06 is a deer rifle. That thing will fuck your ass.
There's like a 5.56 and a 30-06. That bitch is gonna blow a hole through a fucking car door.
It will.
The deer rifle's fine,
and it'll do it at a long range, but.
Yeah. My point was mostly that you have to gamify it, and you have to gamify damage rules. So when a giant battle axe wielded by a 7-foot orc does 2d6 when it slams into your chest, I have no problem when a round ball from a black powder pistol also does 2d6. Like, there's like no big difference between an axe cleaving your ribs and a bullet going through your ribs. But people somehow insist like, no, that pistol should do like 20d6. Like, no.
And it's like I point out too, is like it's the mass hitting you that does so much of the damage. Like I said, it's like if you were shooting that same axe out of a weapon and it hit somebody, it would vaporize them.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of games fail to apply the strength of a creature to their weapon. Like in my game, I'm not going to toot any horns here. I think Victor does it too. But when you're wielding an axe and you hit somebody, you add the damage to the weapon plus your brawn modifier. Because you got big ass muscles, you're swinging that bitch, you're gonna fucking do more damage to it.
Yeah, because an axe has got a lot of mass in a small concentrated blade.
D&D does that at least. So
do they?
A little bit.
A little bit? Like what? They add like half of it or a quarter? Like what would they do? Because in my game, you add all that bitch.
I've seen modifier.
I've seen different OSR rules handle it differently. So
in 5e you add your modifier, and I've seen it in other like earlier editions too. But and then for like ranged weapons, you usually add your dexterity modifier. Yeah, because it's like kind of like supposed to represent like your ability to like aim. Like
it should be brain. It should be intelligence to calculate bullet drop, but.
Well, okay, but getting back to kind of like the original thing at hand, he was arguing that firearms are disbelievable, and as like I said, the whole setting is disbelievable because like nobody invented steam engines or stamping engines or anything that that would have brought any kind of a pre-industrial society into a Dungeons and Dragons game, just because more magic.
Well, there's the ghost of a genuine argument there, in that if magic exists in the game setting and is widespread enough, then there is no impetus to develop technology because you don't need to. You've got magicians and clerics and shamans and witches all over the place.
Graham, you've seen Onward, haven't you?
CGI
Onward,
show.
Onward is a cartoon movie based off where like D&D gets modern, and basically it's like, well, we don't need magic anymore. We have it shows like the death of magic, where we don't even need magic. I, like trying to get this like a fire going, a guy goes click with a light switch, and magic slowly dies out because no one needs magic anymore. We have cars, and like there's like a fat centaur. I ain't gonna run anywhere. I got a car, it's that kind of shit. And there are simulations to the death or unrequirement of magic. It is definitely a thing.
Yeah.
Well, so good.
Sorry, go on, Victor.
I know, I was going to say, like, Harry Potter is kind of a good example for that because the wizards, they have magic, so they don't need technology. So the way they live is still very, like, 18th century, basically. Like, cars to them are like this, like, weird, like, gonzo thing that they don't understand. Like, stuff like that. They all just live in, like, old houses with, like, wood stoves and stuff like that. And, like, candles and, like, whatnot, because they don't need technology. They have, like, all this crazy magic. So, yeah.
Candles.
Yeah. So, but I'm trying to. It depends how ubiquitous magic is in the setting. Really, that something like Forgotten Realms, there is magic everywhere. It's awash in it. So there's not going to be as much impetus for magic. Certainly not given the sort of kind of meta level rules of 5th edition. In earlier editions, like we were saying, where dwarves couldn't really use magic, at least not arcane magic, and are inclined towards crafts and stuff anyway, I can't see any reason why dwarves wouldn't have developed steam engines, because one of the first uses of steam engines was to pump water out of mines. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense for them not to have them or some equivalent. But it really does depend on the setting.
We've seen their writing styles. They don't use actual logic with this shit. The same people are like, oh yeah, this anti-grav wheelchair is a-okay, but a gun I can't wrap my mind around. It's ridiculous.
Oh my god. Even if you have magic in a setting like Forgotten Realms or whatever, like you might need a wizard for it who's trained for like 10 years in this expensive, exclusive wizard college, and you need to like pay him to like perform this magic to do something useful. Meanwhile, you could also just like be like a normal dude who's like, you know what, screw that guy. I'm gonna invent the steam engine because then I don't have to pay this elitist wizard shit. I just so
until some representatives of the Wizards Guild.
And then you get settings. Then you
nice
get games
water
like
wheel you've got there.
Games like Arcanum where there's like
the uniforms. Hello, my friend. You cannot do that engine nonsense here. Not with the Wizard Guild.
And my
I want to ask you some questions.
We will ask the questions. Slaps them.
But the fact that this whole thing is even an argument is just
ridiculous.
Yeah, because when did our tables cease to be our table? If your group wants to do it, fucking do it. If my group doesn't want to do it, we're not going to do it. If there are rules in
wrong. It's like people forgot that the base rule of like whatever's in that book you want to use, you can. You don't have to use every single rule in this book.
Ryan. Ryan, stop accepting money for reviews and stuff.
We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that.
It's reflective of a change in attitude, I think.
Yeah.
Because
use a game book, bigot.
If there's rules for it, people want to use it everywhere. So they
do
can't
we need
conceive
the blessing of the company to do it? Just do it.
Well, thing is, it's not going to run that way, though. If you step outside the coloring lines, the company will come find you and make you behave. It's kind of going that way nowadays. Like, look at Twitter as it is. Like, if you're caught being a bit naughty and spicy on Twitter, they all come down in legions. Look at the whole VTuber thing. You step outside the allowed barriers of what you can play on Twitch, and they come down like a wave of torrential nerds on you. It's ridiculous.
Yes. Aaron, he's saying who is actually playing a character in a wheelchair? They're really people in wheelchairs who want to keep their disability in a fantasy game. I don't know anybody, but I will say this: I do have a friend who had his leg amputated. Where he most of the time he has to be in a wheelchair because he's too big for his prosthetic most of the time, or it swells and it hurts and stuff. So he's wheelchair bound most of the time. When we play games, I guarantee you, he does not play characters who are wheelchair bound in any form, way, shape, or form, or legless or anything. So I'll pull
back the curtain a little bit here. I don't talk about it a lot, but I have multiple sclerosis, and some days I have significant challenges with mobility. And the last thing I want to do is play a character that has significant challenges with mobility. Some days it's hard for me to pick up dice. Some days I can't walk. It's not one of the more pleasant parts of growing old that I've found. Now, I know there's not shit I can do about it. I live with it. I've made my peace with it. But when I'm playing a fantasy game where I am living out my joy and my fantasy and I want to be a hero, I don't want to have the baggage that real life brings with me during that 3-4 hours that I sit down with friends, drink beer, and talk about elves. That's just where I'm at. So Yeah, it doesn't make sense. If I had the ability to go to a cleric and pay him gold today, and he could do a ritual and make this go away in a second, I would make it go away.
Hey, where's my sciatica? I'll get that for you, brother. Just fixes that shit with mayo.
Aaron, I appreciate it, but I'm not begging for sympathy. It is what it is. I'm just saying I would never put it out. But I would never want to play that aspect.
Outside of myself and Ironcaster, and I think maybe Greg, I think pretty much everybody on the panel has a disability of some form or another. And
I'm not disabled.
I get paid for mine, so it's something. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I'm not disabled. I just recently went through intense alcohol detox. I'm not afraid to admit it.
Yeah, it's okay. And like I said, with the exception of you and Ironcaster and myself, I think, like I said, everybody else on the panel's got a disability of some sort. And I'm pretty sure that when you play your games, no matter if it's a self-insert or not a self-insert, you're not going to want to play your disability in the game. It's
oftentimes it's like a bit of an idealized version of yourself if you were going to go that route. So it makes sense. Well, why would I want to play myself with the flaws?
Yeah, exactly. It's like Grimm's not going to want to play a character who has depression. It's just not cool.
Like usual, the people that push for this stuff and like go after everyone when we disagree, they're just speaking for us when we didn't want to, when we didn't ask them to. They're like able-bodied people that think they're doing us a favor, and meanwhile you're like, no, you're annoying me. And when there is like an actual disabled person who is all pro that stuff, they're an activist with an agenda. Like they do not represent people like us. So yeah.
And somehow our disabled status doesn't count when we object.
Yeah, pretty much.
It doesn't count
disabled
because
status,
we don't put it out there.
Yeah.
We don't wave it around like a flag.
What, Ryan? You mean it's not your whole identity?
No.
Yeah.
It's the part of my identity that I want to reveal the least.
Exactly.
But yeah, they'll tell us like, oh, well, you don't represent all disabled people. It's like, yeah, well, neither does the person that you're holding up as like the
neither do you.
So like, you have an ingrown toenail. Yeah, you're very disabled. Shut up.
Which is kind of where we get back to the Hogwarts legacy garbage still ongoing. Apparently, to the point where they're getting VTubers shut down now. They want to pick at me, and I'm just like, that just generated a whole bunch of hate for that group, and I'm just kind of like, this puts me in a hard position because I'm a trans ally, and I like trans people for the most part, but not when you act like assholes.
Yeah, you could basically my fans range the entire spectrum from digital furries to trans girls with OnlyFans. I got them all in my group, but they're all normal. Like they're not making like. I actually think about it. When I was hiring voice actors, I would tell them, "You're for a job. I don't care who the fuck you are or what your agenda is. I'm paying you to do a job. Keep that shit outside of work." And so far, they've done it. Like I got a few who I told them their profile. Oh, I'm yada yada. Like I said, I don't give a fuck. I told them up front, I don't give a fuck about your pronouns. You're being paid to do this voice. That's it. And they're like, okay.
I'm sorry, Ryan. I had to.
I love it. I love it. Quarters are better. I appreciate what jingles, but I really love what folds.
I did a character generation video for Thirsty Sword Lesbians earlier, and I made the character a they them, and I then kept calling her a she, and I kept having to correct myself. And it's like, yeah, sorry guys, I'm not used to this stuff. So I wonder if anyone will actually generally get mad at me for that.
Only if we spread it around.
This Hogwarts thing, I think it just demonstrates that the worst people to be activists for any cause are activists.
Yeah, they truly are the worst. Yeah,
they're just awful. I remember way back when I got in trouble for getting into an argument with a trans person. This is years ago now. I think this is pre-Gamergate even. I said, okay, yeah, I'm sorry I insulted you, but I don't know how to treat people like you. I will follow a whole bunch of trans people, activists, and try to figure out what I feel and think about all this. They were just awful people. The absolute worst. Trans doesn't have anything to do with it. They were just horrible. They spent all their time just going after people right?
just a
If I
bad
had any
person.
questions, it was educate yourself, shitlord. It's like, you're an activist. It is your job to educate me. I'm here asking because I want to understand, and you're being a cunt, whether or not you have one yet.
It's ma'am.
Macho Man Randy's. It's ma'am. I doubt that, sir.
Let me tell you something. I haven't cut the dick off yet, but I'm gonna dig it.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna snap your Slim Jim.
The testosterone rises to the top. Anyway.
Gonna elbow drop your ass in a minute.
See, here's the
I
thing.
miss Randy.
If you can find, if you see that whole joke there, you can find a trans person who will laugh at that joke. They're all right. They really are. If you find a trans like who can laugh at degrading humor, like the jokes I say about myself are awful, but we all laugh at it. You can find a trans person who can laugh at that joke. They're all right. They
It's
go,
most of them that will laugh at that joke. It is a small segment with a very loud voice.
Yeah, it's like the people who tell Mexican jokes. Guess what? Mostly it's us Mexicans telling the jokes because we think they're funny because they're true to some degree.
La chancla rises.
The ones I used to hang out with, the whole trans thing never even came up, like unless it like really had to. But for the most part, in everyday life, they didn't want to be reminded of that shit. And now it's like being trans is the identity now. Like, you know, so like they just talk about it constantly. Like, yeah.
See, there you go, Don. It's like, you know, how many times have we made Mexican jokes like, you know, if I ever got tired of what I'm doing, you know, I could go quit my job and go sell oranges on the freeway because that's a job I'm guaranteed I can have. I'm the right color for it.
Yeah,
but I don't get why.
I could go hire myself out by standing in front of Home Depot, you know?
My lawn is going to need some service here in about a month.
There you go. You know,
you could model for D&D supplements with a chicken under your arm.
Yeah, there you go. I would love to. I mean, it's like I was saying the other day. It's like, man, that's the best grift is that sensitivity reader bullshit. It's like, yeah, guys, hire me. I'm a fucking you know, minority. Hire me. I'll be your sensitivity reader. Of course, my sensitivity comes from growing up as a latchkey kid in the 80s and pretty much, you know, entertaining myself by watching whatever the fuck was on HBO. At the you know 3 or 4 p.m. in the afternoon when mom was out at work and dad was at work. So if they had something, you know, raunchy like The Thing or something come on, yeah, I was glued to the TV watching that shit. So, you know.
I remember when that was on TV. Why did they show that on TV?
I don't know. But cable, we had cable, so I actually had got to watch HBO. So I got to see heavy metal as a kid. So.
Man, you guys don't know shit about watching stuff you're not supposed to as a kid. I grew up on German porn. Like, come on.
Well, okay, I don't. You got to remember, this is America. Porn bad.
Now we know.
Titties bad, but gun violence and extreme bloodshed is fine. Remember?
Yeah. Me and my buddies, we didn't have Cinemax. We called it Skinemax.
Skinemax.
But like, we had the wavy channel. So like if you turned it on the right channel,
that's right.
It was like staticky, but you could kind of maybe make out something. And like my buddy would be like, "Oh, I think I saw a boob," and I was like, We called it the wavy channel.
Well, for some reason, my parents gave me a TV in my bedroom, even when I was really young. I have no idea what they were thinking. So I would just like watch TV at night, and there was this German channel, and like around midnight would be this show called Tutti Frutti, and it was just like chicks showing their boobs like constantly. It was like some silly game show. And then after that, around like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., like the hardcore porn would start, and I wasn't even getting horny or anything yet. I was like too young, but I was just watching like MILFs getting like wailed in like the 70s, like the 70s porn and stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, this is interesting.
And then the gas masks came out and the things got really spicy.
Yeah,
look at Gardner over there. He's like, yep, I've got
you get your puppy though.
He's on the phone with the FBI right now.
He is. He's calling all of us.
Yeah.
Oh man. Golly, so anyway, kind of running on into this too. The news apparently this week, and it was clickbait news. I want to say this ahead of time, but the clickbait news was that the new D&D movie is emasculating its male heroes, and I'm just kind of like, Yeah, but the lead is a bard. They're typically not a frontline warrior to begin with. They're not supposed to be in the front fighting everybody. But it was like, yeah, all the women are in the front lines doing all the fighting. I'm like, yeah, it's because they're fighters and barbarians and shit. They're supposed to be in the front.
Yeah.
Huh?
Don't tell us how to play. My bard can be in the front lines if he wants to.
I wanted to bet that if the bard was a black woman, she'd be out front taking the dragon.
Uh-huh. I mean, it's like,
Just
other than
strong,
him,
independent barbarian who don't need no armor.
yeah, I mean, he does seem to be playing an idiot, which is kind of bard-like
Accurate.
anyway. So it was okay. Malaki says the big takeaway is that you cannot challenge a heroic male character. Well, I mean, there aren't any heroic male characters in that show. Apparently, it's just the bards are, bards have always been kind of a joke.
Yeah, a real horny joke.
Yeah,
Well, I do
ever
think
since
it does
second
kind of
edition.
get at a bigger thing though, where that's kind of become the running joke is that you can have these male characters that get to be the butt of jokes. I mean, the obvious examples are what Homer Simpson and Peter Griffin as an example out there. You look at other characters like Al Bundy, or these where you would have a father figure who just is like the joke, is like a big joke of a character of the show, and this should be like a
okay, what I remember, there was a movie where we had a huge joke male character, and he still ended up being the star of the film, even though he was not the main character, which nobody will remember. There's a little film by John Carpenter called Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because Jack Burton was an inept idiot throughout that whole show. He was the biggest doofus.
He did his best.
But the media context was different.
Yeah.
And it was a really clever way of kind of introducing a pretty vanilla Western audience to Chinese mythology by way of the incompetent everyman getting tangled up in all that stuff. So I think it hit different back then than it would now.
Well, that was done competently.
There's also a difference between
That's a big
being
thing.
a joke. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it exactly, but I don't know. It was just handled differently. Just the nuance was different. Like, yeah.
Is the nuance still going to be there with The Rock as Jack Burton, or is that still on the table? Does anyone know?
I thought that was
shelve it?
cancelled. That project. I thought.
Was it? Thank
hope so.
goodness. I hope so.
I guess.
A lot of the problems that Hollywood has to be fixed. It didn't suck. It fixed all the problems. Like, can you all stop sucking? They can see the light. Ooh, we should hire actual writers, but they just can't. They want to follow these awful tropes, and they want to try and basically degrade the current thing. Like, when you think about it, like, it's gonna be very political, I know, but like all through the years, it was all about championing women. Now it's like, silence, woman. We've got completely fucking Ouroboros. Now it's like, white man bad, woman bad. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, you ever go outside and go, what the fuck? Like, you put on I haven't watched TV in almost a year and a half because like there's nothing good on there. It's all the same typical shit. Any movie, like the only movie I've liked this last 2 years was fucking Bullet Train. So that was good to me.
Yeah.
So why does everything suck? I don't understand. Why does everything gotta suck so much?
Because of agendas. Like, it's all agenda driven rather than just wanting to make a fun movie and just letting movies stand on their own. It's all agenda.
Like, don't you want to make money? Isn't make like YouTube?
No, I don't.
I make $2,000 a month on YouTube. And I make $100. Why? Because these ad guys just don't. Who the fuck cares? You want to make money? I don't care if I get My Little Pony ads and Pornhub ads on my YouTube videos. Just get the fucking ads on there. Give me the money. I don't care who it is. I don't care if I get I don't care if my video I get like a pro KKK fucking ad. I don't give a fuck. Give me the fucking ad money. I'm here to make money. What we're doing. No one cares who's the ads pop on. I don't care if on my YouTube video I get like a MAGA ad and a pro Biden ad. I don't care. We're here to make the dough. So we can keep making more product. That's all that fucking matters.
Yeah,
it's
you
all
go
this
out and buy
fucking
some
agenda crap.
Well,
I mean, it all spins the same.
One of the top grossing movies of all time came out recently that was not agenda driven at all. I wonder if that's a coincidence.
Top Gun.
Yep, Top Gun.
Top
Maverick.
Gun. They'll take you
Was a
there
fun
to
movie.
the winning zone with money and profit.
Yeah, it's a top. I enjoyed Top Gun Maverick, so I'll preface it with this, but I will say Top Gun Maverick is very much like they were elbowing George Lucas and saying, "Hey, Star Wars, can I copy your homework?" Yeah, just don't make it look alike, okay?
Yeah.
You have to admit it.
I mean, there's only so many different ways you can do like a trench run.
Yeah. And speaking of, can I copy your homework?
Oh,
right.
Man, don't get me fucking started on this fucking game. Man, I dedicated 4 hours of this shit. Like, what the hell are they doing that's so cool? Like, what am I like? I remember in the chat, what am I missing? Am I missing something? Like,
exactly.
I couldn't understand. Like, why the fuck is this so fucking popular?
It's the OSR for dudes with top knots and problem glasses and blazers who leave it on their coffee table while they sip lattes and they talk about how they're playing like this really like deep indie game that you probably haven't heard of. Like that is literally what Shadow Dog is.
Yeah, but even before this week, there was this invisible hype train that just kept building and building and building.
Yeah,
and I don't know where it came from.
And I mentioned it earlier in the week. I'm like, what the hell is this with Professor Dungeon Master coming out talking about it, and then all of a sudden Questing Beast, and I guess it was Dying Breed who said like you're gonna see a whole bunch of hype about. Oh no, it was you, Ryan. You were like, yeah, you're gonna see a whole bunch of hype about this.
Well, she was
let's talk about it right now.
The creator was talking about it in that thread that when Pundit went off, and like she's like literally friends with all of them, and they've like helped her with the book. So it basically has like this huge like I don't know community of like pretty big people behind it that can just like push it.
Are you telling me people held her hand to make this fucking book?
I'm not sure. I'm not saying that that she like didn't write it and like they did everything, but they certainly had an involvement. And
it could easily be like throwing out a question like, "Hey, I was thinking about doing this. What do you think?"
Like I looked at her.
We
like
can't necessarily to assume too much based on just that little bit from what Victor was mentioning, because you don't know how much that is actually going to reflect in the work.
Well, she's also like a pretty like popular creator already on like DM's Guild apparently. She's been, like writing like adventures and stuff. And the DM's Guild people, they like they stick together. It's like a little like pseudo community. So like that's like just this whole this whole drive behind it to just push it by all these people.
I think it's a social circle that hasn't previously particularly intersected ours, so we're not really aware of it.
Yeah.
The OGGM knows the person behind this and seems pretty pretty
I'm looking at it,
that people are anti.
And this thing is probably worth, I would say this is worth probably 40 grand, maybe 50 grand, sure, but like $611,000 for this? What? Like I just don't understand what is drawing the hype around this. Like it seems like a standard RPG book done in a retro style.
It has already blown past Cities Without Number, which shocked me because Kevin Crawford is pretty well known and pretty well loved, and for him to do close to $500,000 on his Kickstarter, I thought was pretty appropriate. Huh?
Shadow Dark is the same bright light or like darkly dark.
It looks like it was made in Microsoft Word. There's no page elements. There's no design.
This is just the quick start. This is the quick start, so this is not going to be the thing.
But like I went to the book itself, and for what I could see here on this thing, I'm trying to find things that are done differently.
Yeah,
or like things that are kind of breaking the mold or whatever. I just didn't see anything that's like, wow, this is so different. This looks like a standard 3E book.
It's BX even more simplified with some 5e isms thrown in, and like I said, it's just for hipsters with top knots or with not top knots, man buns.
Why do you hate long hair, Victor?
Because well, you don't have a man bun.
Well, I usually do when I go to shower. I put on a man bun. So
he does have a man bun, yeah.
Well,
I don't understand why you should
like this game.
Then. Like, it's not my fault that girls like this shit long as fucking curly.
That's not a man bun. That's a
here. Just I'll go full caveman mode. Hold on, here.
Well, as my dad likes to call it, a fuck vein.
Go full caveman for you. How's that sound?
My mouth now. Fuck. Yeah, no, I agree, Aaron. Yeah, I love Kevin Crawford stuff.
Victor hates Scarborough. I know, monkey.
Yeah.
But I mean, see, look. What exactly new did they actually bring? I was like, okay, they put titles back in. Okay, well that's from OD&D. You die at your con modifier plus 1 die 4. Okay, so you die in a certain number of rounds that is variable depending on what you roll instead of a set number of them. No, I mean, it's a change from death saves, but I mean it basically it's kind of like the old bleed out rules from 3.5.
But like you go in there and you're looking at it, and the art's great, but it's not exactly like
it's okay. It's not great.
It's basically they're kind of parroting the old 1990s, 80s aesthetic, which is fine. And you go into like this stuff, and braces of archery plus 1 damage range weapons. Like I don't get what is so like.
This is the Mork version of old school essentials. That's basically what it is.
I have the conspiracy theory. If you guys want it, I seem to always have them.
Go ahead.
I think that some of the backing to get it to the numbers that it's at is corporate or potential shadow backing, so that there can be, for lack of a better term, an in-house OSR product, and they're cultivating it right now, and then they have a foundation and a roadmap for eliminating independent creators in competition.
That's scary and probably close to the truth, Ryan.
Like, do you think they would do that though? Would they?
I absolutely think they would do that. The OGL blew up in their face. They're getting a shit ton of bad press because Kyle likes eating his own foot. They need an angle to have some sort of at least influence, if not control, on the products that are not D&D. If it's other than D&D, this gives them an in to the not D&D products, because I'll give an example. A good friend of mine is in a group that, for lack of a better term, is a 100% Sparkle Troll group. Even they stopped playing, like they said, anything but Wizards. Right. So I legitimately think that there is a real possibility that there could be corporate money being funneled into this project to establish a foundation for a product that, hey, you're fine, you're not playing D&D, but you're still playing something that we have this ownership
under corporate control.
Ryan, that's awful. It's this whole. Where do you find these corporate guys? Where do they have an email or a phone number or?
I wish I knew, because I need some investment for auras. But
I have a slightly different theory, right?
Oh.
Sure.
Like I said, I don't think that this social circle has intersected with ours before, particularly, and it's definitely there. And there are people who are largely mugs who sell stuff on DM's Guild when they could sell independently and keep more of the money. Yeah, and that's quite a lot of people. This person has published a lot of stuff in the past. Again, we haven't necessarily been particularly aware of it. And this was originally going to be a fully 5e compatible product. When the OGL thing blew up, she made a big thing about announcing that she was going to break free of the open gaming license and make it her own thing. I haven't read it. I don't know how true that is. So this kind of was there ready to tap into that market of people who are pissed off at Wizards, but don't want to stray that far. And it's the OSR for people who've never heard of the OSR, I think, because she has access to that 5th edition audience, that DM's Guild audience, and these influencers who up until now have made bank just talking about 5e. So there doesn't need to be a conspiracy. I mean, it pisses me off, but I want that money for my project. You bastard! My projects are better.
Yes,
I'll take 10%.
Say what you will about the OS about this here. I think it's more so kind of off what you're saying, to Grim. There is a sort of reputation to the term OSR that I think some people look at it thinking, oh, this is just a bunch of old grognards who want to just go off and play the games they like from the 80s. It's like, and I think there's something there to that people don't want to necessarily go check out these older books, like, a big meaty tome like Dungeon Crawl Classics.
Do you
Or-
think it's
or
like
rules
well, hold on? Do you
Labyrinth
think it's
board.
like some kind of like not brand, but like writer loyalty? Like, oh, we love this female writer. Let's all just
Yes.
fucking
Yeah,
dogpile on
yes,
her
that's
thing.
what I was trying to say before. But
Yeah.
also, I kind of agree with Grim that there's like this kind of group that we really didn't interact with before, and like now all of a sudden there's like this overlap because Thirsty Sword Lesbians made like 300,000, and this like from like all the people that I was seeing like praising this new game, it was a lot of the similar crowd. I saw a lot of similar bios, Twitter bios of like the people that talk about Fate and Powered by the Apocalypse and like all those games that make like 500,000, even though they're like dog shit. So. Yeah.
See, I did a lot of research on Thirsty Sword Lesbians. I want to find out why it was successful.
Guardy
There's a
guard.
lot of, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Give me a sec, bud. Okay, so like even at the very beginning when this came out, my very first question to my panel was, why do we need this? Why would you want to take a 5e game and mechanically introduce rules that change the way it plays to make it play like an OSR game when there are literally hundreds of OSR games available and they don't all play the same way?
Remember when like
and that you could play instead, including the original fucking D&D system.
You say
I think
that, but when
it ultimately is what I think is just this kind of fear of like such a wide net such a wide shelf of books that people just they want the next big thing. They don't want to be caught up playing in what winds up being a small niche book that nobody's ever heard of, and it's like they want to be part of the cool table and they're looking for the big book that's going to be that. I mean, you saw how everyone said we're going to go to Pathfinder. And I think
another thing
didn't scratch the itch.
Another thing we're missing is that a lot of those older or like other OSR games, they won't buy because they consider the OSR like a right-wing like bigot thing. That's what that whole article was about by what that stupid site, News Week, if it was, I don't know. But basically, yeah. Like it's like My Pillow. It's like My Pillow makes amazing pillows, but I'm not gonna buy it because it's right wing. You know what? I'm gonna make my own left wing pillow company. This is kind of like
shit.
Yeah. So this is the way to like be OSR and still like support the white people instead of like giving money to like McQueese or like like whatever. So.
Well, I mean, I made Grimdark, which is turning 5e into a more old school feeling game. So I understand the motivation to do that.
So y'all forget that when Edge Runners came out, people were like, "Oh, I'll play this game in D&D instead of playing Cyberpunk." Yeah. So people aren't exactly the smartest brick on the cobblestone wall there. Because we were like, we should make a thing for D&D 5e for Cyberpunk, but there you could just play Cyberpunk. Nah, I don't want to do that. Like. Ridiculous. This is what it is.
Do you have my interest?
What? What I missed? Hold on, shit.
Oh. T-shirt.
Where
Unless someone actually fucks an axe in that book, I'm not sold.
Okay.
Where's the damn? There it is.
Okay. This is $3.99 up on drive-thru. Okay. This book right here will change your game to play like a OSR game from 5e. It's only $3.99. If you want to buy a hardback or a copy like mine, it's $5. That's it. You only need to pay $5. You don't have to pay $150 for all these fucking books that are going to come out of a nice Kickstarter and all that, and you'll get it if you wish. You'll get this in a couple of weeks. You'll get the PDF immediately. It does the same shit. Because I didn't see anything in the Shadow Dark rules that makes me just go, ooh, that's just, I would have thought about that for 5e.
Well, T-shirt, there's also the quandary of who's actually going to play it. There's a large contingent in that population that, reads these before bed, or maybe reads them in the morning, or reads them before they go to their conventions, but they don't actually play. And this is shelf cred for them. Hey, look what I got right next to Thirsty Sword Lesbians. Well,
Well, hold on. There is some credit to books that are good reads. Let's be fair. And I don't know, is she going to put lore in this book? Because there's some books where there's a good read. Like there's some game books where like they're just nice little novels with like good rules.
There might be some lore to it. I would expect there to be if she wants to continue to sell stuff for it. But the thing is, the
Darkness line comes to mind for that.
The only thing about these books that makes me interested in it is she's got some good random tables, and I always like random tables. But
Reddit,
yeah. But do I want to pay $150 for 3 books that have some random tables and some monsters that are converted?
Wait, how much?
$150 if you buy all 3 books in hardback.
Am I underselling? Like $75 for mine. What the fuck?
Yeah, and she's poised. She's gone to $500,000 now.
You mentioned Reddit. My friend Crossface, he put it pretty well. I think he's like, this book is basically like all the Reddit and YouTube like tier advice that people give, like how to improve your BX game or whatever, like compiled into like one book.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we can be too critical of people, being supportive and holding up each other's products. We all do that, right?
Not that at all. It's just there is, of course, there's gonna be some merit to having like a big success. Wow, I guess like you could say me and Victor are doing things differently. We're taking a new edge on an old subject, tabletop games with modern rifles. And it's why I was like, man, I was like, man, she's got $500,000. What is she doing that's so different? And I'm like, what the fuck is she doing different? It seems like a very old style coat of paint on a book that we probably have already owned somewhere on our shelf. I don't get why this is so immensely popular.
That is my whole thing too. I'm not shitting on her because A, it's a woman, or B, it's expensive, or C, or because she's successful. I'm glad when people succeed. I was ecstatic that Crawford hit, almost $500,000. I'm happy that you're almost to what, 17, Thal?
We're past 17. Yeah.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah,
but it's just like, you look at it and you go like, I don't understand. Like maybe she has either a huge following or they're just all up her ass and love her to death, which is great. But I'm like, what does this game book do that's so different? Has such a militant following?
Yeah, because from what I've seen, it's not going to reinvent the wheel.
Honestly, it's a same wheel with a different coat of paint on it to me. Like, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm sure she worked hard on it, but like this wheel is just the same wheel. Like this is the same wagon wheel that someone slapped glitter paint on. Like I don't, like what's so new? Like at least me and Victor are trying to put rubber in our tires or some shit. Like anyway, go ahead, Gary.
I think what's fueling a lot of the resentment is that a lot of people have been toiling away in the OSR mines for years, right? And have worked really hard and have kind of moved on from where this book is and have done all kinds of different interesting things with the old rules. I'm not particularly an OSR guy. Weirdly, I've got a reputation as one for some reason, but and then along comes this newcomer retreading old ground, not really acknowledging all of that work that's gone on, and has got $500,000, right? Yeah, there's an element of jealousy there, but it is also unfair. It's like you're the home brewer who's been making real ale in his basement for 30 years, and then someone starts up an IPA next door and they're selling like shitty new beers in cans with funky labels, and you're like, well, fuck you. I've been making this rich ale I've been slaving over for years, and then you just pop up and take all.
You just come in here and make your fucking IPA homebrew.
Yeah.
I'll be honest,
I'm being supported by a community that has openly said this is not the way we want to play. That's the secondary piece to this whole quandary. Yeah, I get it. Everybody, luck has a lot to do with success when you're doing anything that's a launch, and that's the X factor that you can't control. But they're clearly targeting a group of people that openly dislikes this method of play, and there's something missing.
Us as like people that play it and people that have been trying to create in it, they openly like disdain us, and then all of a sudden this newcomer comes from out of the DM's guild.
Actually, that is true, Victor. That is true. You have a point there.
Yeah. Well, Greg from Irie's Chronicles actually
There you
took a
go.
5e. He took a 5e game
Yeah.
and he makes it do different things. It makes a better 5e game than 5e. It has better lore. It does really cool stuff with characters. It makes a different game out of 5e, but he's not pulling down $500,000 on a Kickstarter.
I will soon.
You think so?
That's so.
No.
Well, the other thing I think that you guys are maybe overlooking is the audience that's going at this and looking to pick this up aren't necessarily the same ones who already have the shelves full of stuff.
Yeah,
For many
no.
of them, this might be that book that just kind of work. It's like, yeah, it looks like it's kind of largely a lot of the other books I already have. So I myself see no reason to get it. Although those little magazines might have my interest because of the classes, but that's
Yeah.
the other thing. Like I said,
Zines always
I think
interest
it's
me, but
mostly it's just like, hey, they're looking to get something new and shiny with a clean wrapper than something that's been on a shelf for a while.
I'll be honest. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Greg.
Oh no, you can go first.
No, I'll be honest. I'm more mad about that 5e fantasy firearms book that they put out, and has already made like 16, 17,000. Meanwhile, it's 33 pages. I fucking write 200 pages. I spent like 2.5 years on that shit. I'm happy that I made my goal, but it's not 17,000. And I posted it on N-World, and I believe Elle mentioned earlier that this is like an N-World product, and like they all ignored it. Like, nobody fucking gave me any likes or comments or whatever. And then all of a sudden they released like a 33-page thing, like a couple of guns and 2 subclasses, and they taken like 4 times as much as me. That made me mad.
Saying there,
as you can tell,
there's some. There's never going to be not jealousy when someone's uber successful, but it hits different when you realize, okay, you know what, that's warranted. When someone just fucking crushes a fucking book, like, you know what, damn, you're right, you fucking Other times you're like, why the hell are you so successful? Because what is here? like I said, 33 pages, $17,000. What?
I can crank that out in a day. I wrote like 80 in a week, like just a couple weeks ago. Like,
Aaron mentions up something that kind of interests me. He's talking about in Shadow Dark. He says, at level ups, you get random rewards for your character. So it's supposed to kind of prevent cookie cutter characters. And yet, that's a terrible mechanic because you could end up with stuff that's just totally useless to you, or totally useless to the way you wanted to play your character. And not to mention, we have Dungeons and Delvers, and we have low fantasy gaming, both of which have stuff that you can take at levels, which is customizable, which seems like a way better way to go. If you're wanting to do that,
there's nothing wrong with having random talents, but from what I've seen, it's not really a balanced way to do things in an RPG game. And why is your character, who is a person or a thing, just randomly learning shit?
Bro, it's like this. Okay, let's say your character concept was a melee fighter with heavy armor and shield and stuff, right? A frontline tank who can take a lot of beating and stuff, right? You make second level, and your random talent that you get is archery.
Yeah.
Why? How?
Well, it should be random talents that are like based on the specific class. So it should fit. They still should fit the flavor of the class. But I think the basic expert he did something like this. Is like basically you can choose to pick one, just like like I want this, I'm gonna pick one, or you can roll for 2. So there is like an extra incentive to like roll randomly. But if you really want a specific thing, like you can also pick it.
It's better to have an option than a here's what you get kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that this seems like a very I don't want to be mean when I say this, but it seems like a very novice mistake to make in a game book. To have well, here's your thing. That's what you get. Oh well. It's like
but I didn't want that thing. I wanted this other
Everything
thing.
needs to be a choice or the illusion of choice for a game to be successful.
A random category of thing might work. So you can increase your hit points or your constitution by such and such amount.
Well,
in choice.
Like in my game, with your job or your class, when you get level, you have 2 options. You can either a stat bonus or a special skill, because at least there's an option there. You may not like. At least you get that one. You know, like I want to shoot come 5 feet further. Like you get it's an option to choose what you want out of your character.
Wait, what game is this?
Majestic Ropes.
Men, I think.
Majestic
boy.
man butter
Fatal?
spreader. Anyway, but fatal. But
Churns butter faster than
like-
everybody.
I'm glad she got $500,000. That's a big number that
Yeah.
you can put a feather in your cap for. But at the same time, I don't see the merit. I just don't.
Yeah.
And it's kind of confusing. Like if she was bringing brand new, awesome art that was fresh and vibrant with vibrant new races and all these, I go, okay, yeah, that's catch a lot of eyeballs. That's good to see. But this looks like a game I would buy in like 1987 in a bookstore. Like I don't get.
Yeah.
Like I just don't get. I don't understand.
Yeah.
From like all of us here have made a game. I think we've all made a game here at least once, and it's just
Actually, there's a comparison I can draw it to that comes to mind almost immediately.
like, okay.
I think Shadow Dark is going to be kind of like the Zweihander
Darkly Dark
of D&D. Because
Yeah,
remember how
another Astral
Zweihander is to Warhammer?
Yeah.
You can quote me on that out there too, guys. But that's just honestly how it feels to me. It feels like it's the Zweihander.
Zweihander was a
that's been, like-
revised book, I believe.
There's been a bunch of games like that were very astroturfed, I think the word is right. Like where it's just like it doesn't seem very like organic, like the whole the way it just became popular.
Yeah,
Mm.
And it's like, well, more power to them. I don't want to be like, the whiny bitch and like just like
Why
shit
are
on
you
this lady
successful?
who probably is like really nice. But like at the same time, I'm not gonna like act like this is like the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, all the people gushing over Shadow Dark, I can't universally
Dark.
say this, but they're gushing over it now. They're probably going to do a couple of sessions just to see what it's like, and then in a few weeks they're going to be back to OSC or Second Edition or whatever they're doing. It's just a fad, really.
Writing backstories and never playing.
So,
And Don
that's
Paleo, I agree. Yeah, the art is pretty decent. It's not great. It's got some good ones and some bad ones, like anything else. And yeah, you like it better than OSC, but at the end of the day, you're not playing the artwork. I mean, I still remember. I still have Immortal, the Invisible War, on my shelf, and that game looked beautiful. And it's the most unplayable piece of shit I've ever owned.
God, I hope
Grim
nobody
could
says
probably
that
back
about
me up
my
on
stuff.
that.
I never owned it, but I had a friend who owned all the Immortal books, and I sat there and read through them, and I'm like, how does this play? How many different colors of dice do I need? What?
Colors of dice. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reminds
Different
me of the
abilities have
Genesis
different color
system.
dice.
What?
Looked beautiful, wonderfully produced, terrible.
Yeah, Genesis can't figure out what your character is supposed to be doing.
I love this quote here. The perfect jumping in point for 5e players interested in OSR. Like it's weird how this is becoming the flagship thing for an OSR book when there's like hundreds of OSR books.
See,
Well,
I'm not
OSE
Theory,
would be the best
right?
place. OSE would be the best place for an OSR player to start.
because
feels just like the ideal version of a game I was playing 40 years ago, but 40 years better. What does that mean? What the fuck is that? So
That's not. That's a disingenuous quote if I've ever heard one.
yeah,
like I'm sure I'm sure everyone knows we're not shitting on the lady who's making this. We're just trying to figure out why the hell this is so successful.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't get it.
I don't get it either. Like, because 8 months ago I published that Sword and Sorcery adventure for 5e.
Yeah.
And, like, I tried to make that look like something from a long time ago, and it does. It sure as hell does, and it feels like it too. But it's like the OSR people don't want it because they don't play 5e, and the 5e people, like the Critical Role type of 5e people, are scared of it. So it's like, where did I go wrong here? I made this awesome thing, and I have no audience for it.
It's all about who you know and identity and all that stuff these days. So
connections, yeah.
Aaron, I do agree. Basic fantasy is probably the best place to start. I'm gonna append that though, and I'm gonna say Scarlet Heroes is the best place to start. But I'm a little biased.
So the real question is this actually merit based, or is it a fucking conspiracy, or is it simply a huge fan group who loves this author trying to push her above all the other OSR writers? I mean, there's a lot of angles you could take this with.
Yeah.
The answer is yes. It's a little bit of all of that. I
agree.
I truly believe that it's a little bit of all of that. I tend to skew more towards there is someone bigger backing it, but I wear that.
No,
proudly.
that makes sense.
Let's see.
We won't know until someone pisses her off and she takes her $500,000 and maybe subsequent $1 million or $2 million and gets big enough to have fuck you money that she can tell the tale.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, her average donation is 106. Now I know for a fact in mine, I got a guy who's dropping multiple thousands as well in my Kickstarter. So my question are all these people all 5,000, all 6,000 dropping $106 per pot, or someone just fucking downloading major bucks into her account?
No.
Because
you're going to see that kind of switch varied out because there are different tiers of it. So you have to kind of take that into account.
Oh, I see that, but I don't think everyone's, because basically average pledge is 106. It's either the premium Shadow book or the Shadow Dark RPG complete. But how many people are going to buy a complete RPG book? Most folks just want to play it. They're not DMs. They're not going to need a big DM screen. They're probably going to buy a basic book. For my Kickstarter, I'm probably Victor as well. Most folks will buy the base book, and the guys who are like, "Fuck yeah, we'll go for everything." Not everyone's going to buy the big dick set of this book, and it seems I don't want to like be disingenuous to her success, but it seems more like someone's dropping a couple 100,000 perhaps, or and making up the biggest bulk of the donations. Because anyone who's done this thing, me, Victor, T-shirt, anyone who's here, there will be super fans who drop big buku, big dick dollars, because they like you, which is definitely a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But is it because people like her or their company's propping her up? That's what I'm wondering.
I think it makes. Oh, go ahead, sweet.
Here's the thing. Okay, I'm looking at the numbers. Okay, she's at 600,000 plus, and it's going up constantly. She has 5,752 backers. So yeah, ain't nobody. There's not there's not 5,000 people dropping $1,000. But the thing is, she still has 25 days to go on this. It's gonna hit 1 million pretty easily.
And it's not like Wizards has a deal with Kicks. Oh,
yeah. I was just telling Victor that the other day. I'm kind of like, yeah. You see, the Shadow Darks hitting 600,000 this early. I'm like, these are the kind of people that Wizards of the Coast wants a piece of their Kickstarter. They don't want Guard Bros 16,000 or whatever.
You don't have big dick money. I love that too. I'm going to start using that. Big dick money.
You don't have big dick money, Guard Bro. She has really huge dick money.
I've got schmedium dick money.
Schmedium.
It's closing time dick money.
Victor has Vienna sausage.
My friends know me as Richard Cash.
I do think there's a bit of a community push behind it because, and this is like, no offense to you, God bro, like I don't mean this as a criticism, but your Kickstarter did well partially because you already have like a very large community that supports you. You have a big Kickstarter or a big Discord channel. You have like fan base from your books, all that stuff. It's a lot harder to get this shit off the ground when you're like a nobody. If you're just coming out of nowhere, it's like, hey guys, you want to buy my modern system that like it's completely brand new. It's not based on anything. You might get lucky and get like 1,000, but
which is why I'm wondering, because like me, I had a previous fan
confluence of mediocrity. I love that. I love that confluence of mediocrity.
But the thing is, Victor, you are correct. I had a fan base when I made this book game, and that's why I'm going like, who's your big dick money? Every content creator has a big dick money spender. I know who mine is because I told him, why are you doing this? He goes, I love you. I'm like, okay. Do you want like feet pics? Something like that. So everyone has one.
Keep offering people feet pics.
I got nice feet, bro.
He's just got a
but thing is, like, so why I'm going like, who is your super fan? Because everyone who does this, who has a fan base, has a super fan or two, and she's female, so she'll have more than I will. That's how it works, guys.
Well, but also
Maybe she's a Findom on the side.
Well, it's funny you would say that because if it wasn't Aaron, it was someone else who said this in a comment recently on the OGGM's video.
Aaron did a good comment on that. That's probably the one you mean.
And it's like, yeah, a lot of these people are acting like they want to date her or that she's going to date them if if they shill for her hard enough and all.
It's a logical.
Kind of like
so imps.
Yeah,
well, that's why VTubers are so successful. It's that the girlfriend experience. But I don't think this is a girlfriend experience kind of thing. I think it's simply that
it was you, Aaron.
I think that she's simply a female game developer who has super fans, and these guys are like, I want to see my girl succeed, so they drop $10,000 to boost up those fucking numbers.
And she has, like I said earlier, she has like pretty big personalities already backing her, like Woonhammer, like all those people were they were kind of like involved at the ground floor. So they can get their own fan bases like rallied. Like if I was friends with some big YouTubers and stuff, I'm sure my Kickstarter would have also made at least like I don't know, like $20,000 or something. But
saying and there may be some merit to that, just knowing the right people who have their own fan base. Or like, hey, I was working with Sally so and so, like, oh well, I'll help her out, and they buy a single small PDF.
We do need to start cross promoting each other more. I've been thinking about a non-scummy way to do it, and marketing's just inherently scummy, I think. But
embrace the scumminess. Embrace it.
I mean, I'm hiring Grim to do my layout. That counts.
Yeah, I think we need to form an alliance of scumbags or something to cross promote each other's stuff to compete with this kind of thing.
Shit scummery.
An axis of evil.
Yes. Oh no.
An axis of bigotry.
I'll just pay you for
the costumes.
We will have this.
I can pay you for a good review. Did you say?
Yeah, I'll just pay you for a good review. I'll pay you $50, and then Pundit can go get mad at you.
Oh, Pundit is a friend. He is, and I like him as a person. But yeah, man, he's caught a lot of heat here lately because of his comments on this and on men and
words.
Yeah, for saying words. I don't know. I don't want to say anything bad about the guy because I don't honestly have anything bad to say about the guy. I don't agree with everything that he says.
He plays a heel on the internet.
He does, and I've mentioned it to people before. They're like, "What the hell is I have people message me privately. What the hell is a pundit all on about?" And I'm saying he's just kind of doing his heel thing on Twitter. It's he's not like this when you actually talk to the guy in real life.
Pendejo.
Yeah.
I'm trying to stay out of it, jokes aside, but I do know multiple people that have gotten really turned off from him just the last couple weeks. So
we caught heat just for being on the thread, and I had more than one DM come into the podcast account asking how legitimate our reviews were moving forward from just from going on and saying, "Hey, we sell ads." The ladies that run our Twitter account for the podcast said, "We sell ads. Everything we sell is very clearly a 60-second spot. If we do a review, it's usually because we had a product sent to us or Ryan bought it," and that's absolutely correct. And there were people that thought that was spin, and we were trying to duck out. And I had not less than 15 DMs come in this week asking how legitimate our reviews were. So we caught, like pebble in the pond, we caught one of the ripples, and it was ugly.
Yeah, I've never been accused of taking money for a review or anything. Not that I review all that much anyway, but it's like if somebody paid me to do a review, I would be almost ecstatic just because it would be money coming in, because I'm not making a fucking dime off of anything I review. Nobody sent me anything for free to review. I don't get comped anything like that. In fact, I'm not monetized on YouTube, so there's no money coming in that way. I'm spending my own money to get the books, to check them out, to review them, to tell you guys about them. So I'm losing money on reviews.
I was going to pay for a review, but
it costing me money.
I'm costing you money too.
They're like, okay, review the book. I'll review it, and it was trash. And I told them it was trash, and I did a review on it live on Twitch and trashed it. And they refused to fucking pay me because it's so bad. I was like, this book is dog shit. Like, we're not fucking paying you. You're an asshole. I was like, through the trash.
And it's not like we get a ton of stuff. We get PDFs sent to us, 1 or 2 a week. Never have I had a physical book sent to me, which makes me cry because I prefer the physical book.
I do too. I mean, I don't want to sound like Professor Dungeon Master, but I do kind of tend to have the policy of I'm not going to review or talk about a book on the air if I think it's shit. Because why? You know, I mean, and I've found a few, but it's kind of like, why bother? Who wants to hear about it?
Right.
You know?
Even if someone sent me I don't know what they could send me a copy of, the scintillating guide to sparkle trolling,
Fatal,
and AKA
Lighter
Fatal.
and more girthy.
If I read it and I hate it, I'm just not going to do it. I'll give a lukewarm or a middle of the road, but I'm not going to just absolutely trash a product. I'm just not going to air that.
Then you're a better man than me.
I bought a review copy of Dude Bro's evil book of racism in order to talk about it on the talk about it at some point. And I'm still kind of wondering, how am I really going to review this? Because on the one hand, game wise, it's not the worst thing I've ever read. It's just, but the politics being kind of injected in a not so subtle way into the pages is kind of.
You mean like the Viking race book?
Varg, yes, yeah. Varg's wonderful book of fantasy racism, Viking racism.
Just review it honestly.
It's so on the nose though. It's almost comical.
Well, it's as bad as Thirsty Sword Lesbians. Just it's the Mirror Universe version.
Yeah, I mean, I can't honestly shit on it for having bad mechanics. I mean, they're not the best mechanics.
Horrible,
I mean the setting has some smacking of some authenticity, and it's kind of enjoyable in that way. But he's obviously got some really strong racial bias going on in that game.
You don't say.
Just a little bit.
Just a little. I mean, it's like he puts like the Viking type people. They're not actually called that, but he gives them all these pluses and bonuses and special abilities and shit. And then you get down to the bronze men, who he describes as dark-skinned or dusky-skinned people with dark eyes and such. And, and they all have like minuses on almost everything. And I'm just kind of like,
intelligence.
Wow.
It's like, that's a bit on the nose there, brother. What the fuck are you doing?
I'm just kind of like, wow. And then he does actually have an actual quote in his book where he says, I'm paraphrasing, but it's something to the effect of children who look alike play best together. I'm dead serious.
Let me get this straight. You think your race is superior to everyone else's, and that's reflected in these statistics in your game. And yet you also believe your superior race is losing to the inferior race.
Yeah, I know, isn't it? It's just,
how do you square that circle?
So what is this race called? A Grand Wizard? What the?
Yes, I'm playing the race with the blonde hair and the blue eyes. As you can see, I'm very much the superior.
There's some books though, like there's like that. I swear they're trying to like just rile someone up. There's some books where they're just trying to get traction through outrage. And that's definitely a way to do it, I guess, but it's not exactly a very effective method because usually you get tarred and feathered. Like when I made my war crime chart, I got some rather angry emails that I promptly ignored. But it's just one of those things where outrage can generate traction for some game books, but you gotta be a little more subtle with it. You can't go full on like racial politics in your fucking game book. It's not. It won't win in the way it's going to win. It's not going to get. The proper traction. It's going to get tread under the fucking Twitter boots.
The big book of war crimes
The Big Book of War Crimes.
The bumper big book of war crimes.
Yeah.
like
Or
unfortunately,
now on Kickstarter.
Child's first, kindergartner's first book of war crimes.
yeah,
Complete with a
and-
recipe in the back of it to make mustard gas.
Oh, yeah.
because in my book you do get bonuses for doing war crimes, but there's also a negative attached to it. So I can't believe you give a bonus for killing civilians. Well, there's also a negative tied to it. You know, like,
Technically, my book has war crimes in it. I have like nerve gas. I have like white phosphorus. I have like all sorts
Willy
of stuff in
Pete.
it. Yeah. So yeah, people can get mad.
Now, do you have diplomatic ways to use them and not get caught?
yes.
It depends
That's
on.
awesome.
Well, it depends on the setting, I guess, on the campaign.
Like,
I have nukes. I have nukes in mind, and that's like like that's just like if players are annoying, the GM can be like, yeah, I just nuke you guys.
Glorious leader has said once again that there are no nukes.
there are no weapons of mass destruction in our castles. Yeah.
We don't know what you're talking about. There are no weapons of mass destruction here.
Only these medical personnel who are definitely wearing white robes. But like, I mean, thing is, like, you know, when you're doing spicy content, like, you know, this guy, you gotta make it at least somewhat make sense. Like my whole thing is the player's theme of my game book is, do you want to do a war crime? That's like the main tagline of my fucking book. And it's just like, you gotta make it to where there are pluses and negatives. You can't go full racial identity tactics on it.
Malaki, where are the tapestries?
I can already imagine the musical now. Do you want to do a war crime?
Do you want to do a war crime? I can show you all the ways. Yes, it's a.
But fates, there's more. We got to get the door. Don't get started on musical.
like in the game, if you want to use human hostages, you hold them in front of you, your DR goes up, and the enemy's less likely to shoot you because you're holding a civilian in front of your face. Nope, don't look at me. So the thing is, like how do you balance that? Well, it's awful. You shouldn't use a small child as a fucking human body shield. But if you're trying to get out like a super high tech, you know, pivotal information, you got to get it alive. Command may go, don't do it again. You know, like you
don't want to use a small child. You want to use several small children or one big child in order to
Yeah,
cover.
no. Single small child, that's just a +1.
No,
you need at least a fat kid, that's like a +2.
I had about you're capped at 2 children per body shield, right? So you're capped on to mechanic wise. But hey, it's Patty. How you doing, Patty?
Hey, Patty.
Down there.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus, man. I don't know. I don't know anymore, man. I do know that we're over time. So has anybody got anything, or
I'm good. It's just more bullshit every day.
It is. It's just funny bullshit. I think we covered a lot though today. We really did.
I will say I hope that all this money she's getting is based off of merit and not from some like backing by certain companies or shady dealings going on behind the background. That'd be kind of sad, really.
Some of it was like tested at like Gen Con, so there has been a bit of groundwork to it. So
this groundswell wasn't there at Gen Con. We would have heard about it.
Yeah.
I'm more worried about what this is going to do to the hobby. At least like the OSR was for the most part fairly insulated from like, you know, the 5e crowd and the Fate crowd and stuff like that. And now they're going to all pretend like the OSR experts, and they're going to like, you know, be like, oh, well, you should play this OSR, not that bigoted OSR that those like fucking evil people over there are doing.
Those bigoted OSR players.
Yeah.
So
they sound pretty based to me. I don't know.
I just wish more people with decent projects got more money.
Yeah.
Sorry,
give me
Greg,
money.
I
need money.
I have a minor shill. Can I do my minor shill?
Yes, Greg, you may do your minor shill.
Okay. So our next book is after the Wilderkin thing. I've got the kaiju thing going on, but we're going to be doing another open world adventure.
Ooh.
This one is in the vein of Lankmar or Sanctuary of Thieves World. So it's going to be a whole city. The premise is the man who stole the city and all the people who want to see him dead. So it's going to have a ton of different factions that the players can ally themselves with. It's going to be a complete sandbox. And depending on who you ally with and what you do for the different NPCs, you may end up ruling the actual whole city, and it's going to have a lot of anachronisms like 16th, 17th, 18th century stuff that doesn't fit with the rest of Iries, but it's going to be like Gothic horror and that type of stuff. So we're excited about working.
That sounds great.
I
can't wait.
Share soon.
Yeah, very cool. We run Iries every Tuesday night. So when that campaign is done, if you got something new for us, we're always interested for it.
And it's going to be Castles and Crusades probably too.
Yeah. Victor, you got a shill?
Yeah, let me share something real quick on my screen here.
Okay.
So this is like the placeholder cover, but I'm basically doing Simple Modernity 2.0, but this time it's designed officially for Old School Essentials. I've actually been emailing with Necrotic Gnome. They're being very helpful. But I'm working on that, doing the classes, all that stuff. It's got all the rules for guns, for it's gonna have explosives, ammo types.
Wait a minute, it's not green and gray and white.
Well, you actually cannot copy them too closely. That is part of their license. That you cannot copy their look too closely. You have to kind of like do your own look. So I went with the original color scheme that I also used for Simple Modernity, which was like the red and the gray and the white, which I liked. But yeah, this time I'm also adding vehicle rules. So like I've got all this shit here. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. I'm hard at work on that. And I promised them that Necrotic Gnome that I would send them a draft in a couple of weeks because they want to look it over, see what all I'm using from like the core books. And then they might give me permission to basically ignore the OGL. Like I won't have to put the OGL in my book. I can just put used with permission from the Necrotic Gnome. So like I said, they're being very helpful. So yeah.
I've actually been thinking
too. Now one man is back to settle the score. And this time the Netherlands are heating up because he's taking out the trash.
Yes.
I love you, Greg.
I need you to do the trailer for it when the time comes, Greg.
Absolutely.
In a world.
In a world where t-shirted historians are trying to speak and can't remember what the fuck they were trying to say.
In a world
of
wooden shoes and tulips.
And wooden shoes and tulips. And
web feet.
And stroop waffles. Actually, because Kevin Crawford hit way over his funding mark, he said that he's going to be opening up Cities Without Number to Creative Commons, I guess, or whatever, or OSR or whatever works better for him. But he's basically opening it up so people can just write shit for it. Mm-hmm. And with that in mind, I'm pretty sure he would probably do the same thing for some of his other stuff, like Worlds Without Numbers. And there have been a lot of races and stuff that I wanted to introduce as into World Without Numbers, and I'm actually starting to put together a few, and I'm kind of gonna try and see if he'll okay it, because it would be nice to have like people always like race books, right? You could never get tired of races, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like my frog.
Don't you mean
that's tired of racists?
Don't you mean lineages?
Ancestry.
Species.
No, I'm gonna go full base with
species.
I'm gonna go full basis class with this one, by the way. I'm gonna have like a modern orc basis class, modern elf, like all that stuff.
Well, okay, and I didn't want to get into this without dying breed on here, and I don't want to get into a huge thing on it, but just as a quickity quick. Well, Castles and Crusades has got some races as classes in their book. However, they also have a full set of rules and different ways to multi-class. So my feeling is I think race as class would be okay if you allow those characters to multi-class as well using multi-class rules, because then that would seem to work better.
Wait a minute, Castles and Crusades has races class?
Yeah, Yeah, well, it's in the player's guide to Aired and in the classes book. They have things like like the they're almost like exemplar elves and exemplar dwarves and gnomes and the the immortal goblin and all these other things. And they're classes, but since you have to have that race to play as that class, it's more or less it's race as class. But like everything Castles and Crusades, you're not locked into that class forever. So you could.
Right, it's more of a prerequisite for it then.
Yeah. So I don't know. You guys should read Basic. Tired of people screwing up race as class. What? What do you do? What? I have Basic. I started out with Basic, L.
How are we screwing up race as class?
How are we screwing up race as class? Because Basic didn't let you multi-class.
I refuse to allow like that kind of stuff. You get one, deal with it.
I just look at old school essentials. That's been my go-to retro clone.
Pretty much. But anyway, I don't know. There's still a lot of discussion about race as class, and my only reason for ever bringing it up is the fact that I have always believed that because most of the games are humanocentric, because human is the default, all the other races tend to be more powerful than humans in one way or another, whether it's having dark vision or special bonuses and all that. And it seems like no matter what they do to pump up humans to make them better, oh, they have more skill points, oh, they get more feats. It just never quite seems to match. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why they had level limits. That's why they like they leveled slower, like stuff like that. There was like attempts to balance it out.
And Malaki, yeah, I agree. Axe does have really good races class. I would totally agree, especially by the fact that they have multiple classes that races can be. So you're no longer locked into just one path. Now you can take like Elven Thief, Elven Fighter Mage, or Elven Spell Singer and all that kind of stuff. That's pretty cool stuff. But
I'm just showing some work last night or yesterday.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Anyway, I still like races class to some extent, but I also understand that it is kind of dumb. I mean, just bluntly, I'll put it there. I mean, because all elves are fighter mages, all dwarves are fighters, all halflings are thieves. What is this? It doesn't make any sense. So
it works for games. It works for archetypes. Basic. It works for games where archetypes are important.
Malaki, Arons, they have totally no idea what they were doing. I don't know, Aaron. I've taken Axe and I've run old basic D&D under it, and it worked out pretty good. I do have some complaints about how things are laid out because it's hard to find stuff. But I guess I need to do a little bit more research beyond that. But we've played about 3 games of it, and it was okay. But for the most part, my players just generally agreed that it was just D&D with a different coat of paint. I don't know. Say what you will.
Taco. Sorry, I'm hungry. I had dinner yet.
Who might argue with such last words like that?
No, I don't agree. I don't necessarily agree with that. So you know that. So. But anyway, yeah, not to start up a whole bunch of thread of topics.
I disagree with it purely because you keep taking away our money in Scarlet Heroes.
What? I don't take away your money. You buy stuff.
Just be thieving.
We eat, we drink, we whore.
Yes.
Yeah, as one does. I
think we just leak money until we run out. I think that's what happens.
Now,
maybe one day we'll be able to afford someone to like sew up the hole in our coin purses.
Yeah, and now imagine a gaming system where your hit points were actually based on the amount of gold that you had. So you're literally losing money every time you get hit.
It's very Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
Pay $30 to live. Oh fuck.
The American healthcare system.
Die.
Well, it almost kind of works, So all of a sudden those 2 die.
Now I need to go to bed.
So we can stop the show now. Let's stop the show. Thanks
Yeah,
everyone for
he's
hanging
all-
out with us.
He needs his beauty sleep for.
Yes.
So there I
obvious
was,
reasons.
5 foot deep in an elven cook. No, I quit.
Thank y'all, everyone, for hanging out with us this week. And we hope you enjoyed the show. And if you catch us on the replay, I hope you had a good time with it.
Yep.
But until next week, good night and.
On behalf of the staff of the Independent California Motel, I wish you all sweet dreams. Wake the fuck up, samurai. We have a city to burn.